Today on Dr. Phil.
That kid is acting like a chimpanzee.
Should kids be banned from restaurants?
Go to the restaurant that has chicken fingers and peanut butter and jelly.
So my child has to eat processed chicken because he's not worthy of steak?
Banned from libraries.
How did this go from your child cooing too loudly to you being in jail?
Banned from airplanes.
And then the flight attendant says,
"We're going back to the gate and you and your baby are getting off this plane."
this is going to be a changing day in your life.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If it matters to you, that's what I want to talk about. Are we ready in the booth? Let's do it. Okay. Now, you are going to love this conversation. It has been in the news. I'm talking about bans at restaurants, bans in movie theaters, bans on airlines. For smoking? No. It's for kids. Some people say, you know what? It's about time they ban the Brats. While others say, no, come on, they're just kids. It's flat out wrong. Take a look.
This North Carolina restaurant recently stirred up controversy when it banned screaming children.
If they find it offending, I suggest that they find another restaurant.
Since he announced McDane's policy that children under 6 are no longer allowed, business is up.
Apparently there's just been a seething feeling among people that has been released here.
I just think it's a great idea.
Not everyone, however, is a fan.
We may not patronize that restaurant.
The restaurant business isn't alone. Airlines are also witnessing a shift in attitudes towards crying kids.
It's an excellent idea.
Now, today we're going to talk to that restaurant owner who says children under the age of 6 are no longer welcome in his restaurant. Is a Brat ban a good idea or is it unfair? Now, we found you don't need to have a kid to have an opinion. Take a look.
I think restaurants should be able to ban children. I wouldn't hold a business meeting in a Chuck E. Cheese or a Disneyland.
As a restaurant manager, I would never, ever ask a parent to leave because their child was unruly.
I should be able to take my baby wherever I want her to go.
I'm trying to eat, and these kids are interrupting my meal I'm paying for. I should get a refund for that.
Airlines banning children is a bad idea.
Parents shouldn't bring babies into a restaurant. It's like bringing a dog into a restaurant.
I know some people in our audience feel very strongly about this Brat ban, and if you're watching from home, you can join the debate live right now on the Dr. Phil Facebook page, so we do want to hear from you. Now, Scott, you've got a strong opinion about this. What is it?
I've been a waiter for 20 years, over 20 years, despite my youthful appearance. And I'm all on board with the Brat ban in certain restaurants, especially mine, because nothing bothers me more when a kid comes into my restaurant and they leave food all over the floor that we don't even serve. Don't sit in my station and leave a mess.
Darla, what do you think about it?
I oppose that. I mean, the reason why that mom brought Cheerios in is to keep the kid quiet so your fellow people in the restaurant could enjoy a quiet meal.
All right, we're going to get more into this debate in a few minutes, and later we're going to tell you how not to raise a brat in the first place. Maybe that's where we should start. But now, Sarita is a mom who took her son to the library and was told that he was cooing too loudly. Well, Sarita lost her cool, and she wound up in jail. Take a look.
I never thought that my son's cooing could get me arrested. My son, Savannah, and I were right here in this public library. The sound that he was making was like a... The security officer came right over and asked me to quiet him down. I was able to quiet him down, but when I asked the library manager why they were kicking me out, the security officer called the police. When the police arrived, they issued me a citation saying if I came back to the library, it would be considered criminal trespassing. The police handcuffed me and threw me in the back of a police car. I couldn't believe I was being arrested for something so absurd. I was completely shocked. I was panicking. They're prosecuting a mother for a baby being a baby. I think that places that ban children are just completely out of order. I mean, it's a sign of the times. It's crazy.
How did this go from your child cooing too loudly to you being in jail? You think they overreacted?
They overreacted.
Did you then overreact?
I mean, for them to involve the police in a situation like this, it wasn't needed. You know, they took it to that point.
Well, you called the news station from the library before the police even got there, right?
This was after the security called the police and lied on me right in front of my face.
They called the police, lied on you, so you picked up the phone, called the
news.
TV station?
Yes.
So did you get mad and call names and stuff?
Outside of the library, yes. Because, I mean, at that point, they showed me no respect, and they treated me like I was just, you know, some child with the child.
But you got hot, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, 3 officers came out and a sergeant. I mean, like I was a man committing a crime here, stealing, you know, I wasn't doing anything. It was my son making a noise. And by this time, he was quieted down. He was still in his stroller. He had his bottle at this point.
Do you get that if you're in there like studying for an exam and somebody's got a kid there, you know, like that where you can't concentrate, I mean, there could be a clash of cultures here, right? About take care of your baby and take care of studying.
Very different than a lot of libraries. It's not like one of those libraries where everyone's in here studying.
Well, now another tantrum that made headlines everywhere. Philip was accused of slapping a stranger's 2-year-old daughter at Walmart. Now, he has never spoken publicly about what happened, and we've agreed to keep his identity private due to numerous death threats that he's received. So he's joining us now on the phone. So, Philip, are you there?
Yes, Phil.
Okay, thanks so much. Listen, tell me what happened here. You're at the store and you're shopping, and someone is there with a 2-year-old that is really unruly, right?
Right, but first off, I had one of my attorneys verify that the kid was not 2 years old. She was 4 years old.
Okay.
Old enough to know right from wrong if she was taught that.
So your point is at 4, they ought to know how to behave?
Yes.
Boy, I think a lot of mothers... Do you have children?
I don't have any. I have an older brother, older sister, and a younger sister that all have kids, but I elected not to have any.
Why did you elect not to have any?
I just never had the desire to bring more life into the world.
Yeah. So you said that you're tired of mothers nonchalantly shopping, doing their thing while their kids are causing racket and misbehaving.
Yeah, they just kind of ignore whatever's happening. They seem to have a deaf ear to their own kids screaming.
All right, so tell me what happened. So you're in the store, this baby's there with the mother, this 4-year-old is there with the mother, and the child is unruly, so you did what?
I just figured it would be a minor incident if I just reached over and tapped her on the cheek to get her attention, and I was going to shush her is what I was going to try to do. But I didn't get that far. This woman hollers at me, "What are you doing slapping my child?" Well, I said, I'm not slapping your child. I was just trying to get her attention. So she hollers for security, and security runs over, takes us up to the front of the store, and they said it's store policy that we have to call the police. And that's what they did. They double handcuffed me, my hands behind my back, and hauled me off to jail.
Well, now, the police report says that you approached the mother and said, quote, "If you don't shut that baby up, I'll shut her up for you."
That's what she said. Now, there's not a word of truth in anything she told the police.
Do you think you approaching another person's child and putting your hands on them, whether you were tapping them or slapping them or whatever, do you think that was appropriate?
Probably not. I just didn't give it that much of a thought. It just seemed so minor. It wasn't my intent to injure the kid.
I'm married and have been for 35 years, and I think if somebody came up and put their hands on one of my children at that time with their mother there, you would have been better off to stick your head in a wood chipper.
That's right. That's right. Oh, yes. Yes.
And I know what you're saying, that you didn't mean anything, but I think maybe because you don't have children, but I think a mother, the audience here is aghast at what took place, and apparently the court was too. You were convicted of first-degree child cruelty. You served 6 months in jail, 6 months at home with an ankle bracelet, 4 years probation, 80 hours community service, and anger management classes. So, was that fair?
No, it was an overreaction. Apparently you're not going to think that.
I think when you put your hands on someone else's child, that's the wrong thing to do. I think you could go to the manager, you could go to store security, you could go somewhere and say, this is disturbing the peace, I can't put up with this here, but I think putting your hands on them, I think is a bad idea. But you said you're not sorry you did it, you're just sorry for the result.
I think the consequences were overblown.
All right. I appreciate hearing your side of this, Philip. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we'll talk to a woman who was kicked off of her flight because of her child's noise. Katie says she will never forget when a flight attendant told her she needed to shut her baby up and then kicked her off the airplane. Take a look and we'll discuss it.
20-month-old Garen Penland and his mother Kate were aboard a Continental Express jet.
And he starts saying bye-bye airplane over and over.
She says the flight attendant told her to give him baby Benadryl, but she refused to do it.
She said, you need to shut your baby up.
The next thing she knew, a security guard escorted them off the flight.
Bye, baby.
You said that this is the first time you've flown with your little one since he was born. How old?
He was 19 months old at the time.
19 months old at the time, okay. Now, you said you came prepared.
Yes.
You had toys, you had food, you had everything to try to occupy and take care of him.
Absolutely. But what we were not prepared for was our 2-hour layover turning into an 11-hour delay. There were thunderstorms, so we could not get off the ground, so we were there for 11 hours.
So you're 11 hours on the ground?
Yes.
Not on the plane, but in the terminal?
No, in the terminal. We get on the plane. He is a little restless at first. Of course, he'd been in a stroller 11 hours. We get on the plane, and there's an airplane parked next to us. And so to kind of redirect his attention, I said, look, Garen, an airplane. And he looked out the window, and I said, bye-bye, airplane, and I closed the window. And he thought that was the funniest thing in the world. So that's what we continued to do. We would lift the window, and he would say, bye-bye, airplane, and we'd close the window back.
Right. And then the flight attendant comes up and says...
She finishes her safety speech, and she leans over the gentleman next to me and says, okay, it's not funny anymore. You need to shut your baby up. And some people have a weird sense of humor, and I thought maybe she's kidding, so I asked her, are you kidding me? And she said, no, I'm tired, I've been delayed all day, and I don't want to hear your baby all the way to Oklahoma City. And it was a 1-hour flight. And I asked her, well, what do you expect him to do? You know, he's been in a stroller for 11 hours. You're lucky he's not, you know, screaming and throwing a fit. And she said, well, it's called baby Benadryl. And I just kind of looked at her, and I thought, you know, and I actually said, I'm not drugging my baby, so you have a pleasant flight. And she said, well, it's not about me. The other passengers, no one wants to hear him. So at that point, the other passengers started speaking up, and one guy said, you can't take the batteries out. And, you know, another lady said, you know, he's not bothering us, he's fine. You know, at least he's not crying or screaming. And she walks away for a few minutes and comes back, and she says, and we were next in line to take off. She said, we're going back to the gate, and you and your baby are getting off this plane. The pilot comes out, and he says, you know, you and your child need to get off the plane. And I said, no, I have done nothing wrong. I'm 1 hour from my destination. You know, can you talk to the other passengers? It was a very small plane, 1 seat on this side, 2 on the other. So everyone could obviously hear what had taken place. And I said, I'm not getting off the plane. So security came, and there was a woman 3 rows behind me. She got up, and she said, you know, I can't believe that they're doing this to you, and you haven't done anything wrong, but I'm afraid if you don't get off the plane now, then you could be in trouble. And she said, I don't want to be on this plane. I will rent a car and drive you and your baby back to Oklahoma City, or we will figure out a way to get another flight.
Well, we spoke to the flight attendant that dealt with Katie, and she said that she still stands by her actions and says she was following FAA guidelines and company protocol. Now, she was actually going to be with us today, but she couldn't because she just had a baby.
Her first baby. Yes.
Her first baby. I have to say, you do change once you have a baby, right?
Absolutely.
Because your baby isn't as loud as everybody else's baby.
Of course
and
not.
You kind of get desensitized to it, right? Next, what would you do if your child was acting like this? Well, we're going to find out how you answered that when we come back. We'll be right back. Here's the question, and there's a lot of theoretical positions behind this, but the question is, are kids more out of control than ever? Well, they're starting to ban these kids. And I'm going to show you a scene from a night out, and I want to know what you would do. Take a look.
I don't like spinach.
You take your child out to dinner, and they throw a complete tantrum. What do you do?
No, no, no.
1, calmly ask them to settle down. 2, ignore the tantrum. 3, take the child out of the restaurant. 4, firmly tell your child to stop. Okay, now I want you to vote, and I want you guys at home to think about this as well. So vote now, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So, 72% of you said you would take the child out of the restaurant, and 23% you would tell them to stop. 4, you would calmly ask them to settle down, and only 1% would ignore the tantrum. Now, in my opinion, I got to tell you, what I would do is I would take the child out of the restaurant. Okay, Jennifer, what do you want to say? She's mic'd.
There's another option, and it's don't bring your child to a restaurant. And I'm a parent. I have a 4-year-old, and I think you need to know what your child is capable of. And that's the 5th option, is maybe they can't sit at a restaurant where people are in suit and ties and it's quiet. You know, maybe that's the other option, is just don't go. Know what your child is capable of.
All right, BabyCenter.com blogger Lindsay, and mother of 2, says, why is your cell phone less annoying than my child? That's exactly right. They're both, but aren't they both annoying?
And that's just 2 kinds of annoying. I mean, there are cell phones, there are children, there are drunk people, there are college kids, there are tweens, you are in public, so there are all kinds of annoying, and I think you have to have some tolerance.
But now, 72% of you said you would take your kids out, but I don't think people are really doing that to that level. So McDane's restaurant owner, Mike Vuick, says he started the ban on kids under 6 at his Pittsburgh restaurant. So Mike is joining us from his restaurant via Polycom. Mike, are you there?
Hi, Dr. Phil.
Hey, how are you? So you decided that you were going to create this ban, and so I actually have one of the sheets that you put on the table. It says, we will no longer admit children under 6 years of age. We feel that McDane's is not a place for young children. Their volume can't be controlled, and many, many times they have disturbed other customers. How's it working for you? Are people liking this or not liking it?
Overwhelmingly in favor of what we've done. Our business is up significantly.
What are the people that are against your ban? What's their logic? What do they say?
There's a really interesting dichotomy here. Those who are in favor of the ban have written these very reasoned emails to me describing how they've raised their children. And in stark contrast to this, those who are against the ban have these monosyllabic responses, you're a jerk.
Is what you're saying that the people that are against it are mouth breathers that don't really have a reason?
Well, they've yet to articulate one, and I don't know what the position on incivility would be. It seems to be very obvious, and I think that over the weeks here since this started, it was a little iffy at first. I felt from talking to my customers that I would have support for this. I had no idea that there would be such tremendous support.
So, Mike, how many children do you have?
None. But if I may, I don't drink either, and I don't think that disqualifies me from identifying a drunk.
All right, next, I want to find out what some of you would do if you were out on the town and a rowdy kid is at the next table. What would you do if you were in that situation? We'll be right back. Okay, have you ever been on a plane where a kid screamed the entire flight and you thought to yourself, boy, it would be nice if kids weren't allowed on planes? We're just really talking about these child bans. Should it happen? Now, I've got another question for you to vote on. Those of you at home, you can log on to drphil.com to vote. Those of you in the audience, pick up your devices. Watch this, and then I'm going to ask you what you would do.
Mom!
The child next to you is out of control, and the parents are oblivious. What do you do? 1, ask to be moved to a different table.
No!
2, ignore the child.
Mom!
3, complain to the server and ask them to talk to the parents.
Mom!
4, confront the parents. Okay, audience, get your controllers and let's vote. So, what do you do if another person's child is throwing a tantrum next to you? All right, here are the results. Only 23% would confront the parents, 37% would complain to the server, 29% would ask to be moved, and 11% would just ignore it. So a quarter of you, 1 in 4 of you, would confront the parent. You're the waiter, what would you do if somebody came? If you were one of the ones where they came into the waiter and said, would you go deal with this, what would you say?
Okay, I write about this all the time on my blog, thebitchywaiter.com. And most of the people said they would ask the server to interfere. That's not my job to go to another table and deal with somebody else's issue.
Well, it kind of is.
No, because then I become responsible for the restaurant, and I'm supposed to be making these decisions on the restaurant's behalf, and these are the same people that don't want us to ban children. So, but it is okay for me to make a decision that this particular child should go. No, you have to deal with the parents.
It astounds me. It's not the kids, honestly. Seriously, we talk about the younger generation like we've got nothing to do with it. That kid is acting like a chimpanzee because the parent is not controlling the child. And I would honestly say, can you be so socially insensitive as to not be aware that everybody in here is trying to figure out which car is yours so they can slash the tires? I mean, I would deal with the parent. Now, Andrea, you support this ban.
With certain restaurants that are geared towards adults, yes, I do feel that young children do not belong. And the reason is because of the 72% poll you just cited. If 72% of the people are willing to remove their children, that's great. The problem is the other 28%. So until the other 28% recognize that it is rude to have a screaming child in a restaurant, then unfortunately this kind of ban does have to exist.
Isn't it more fair if it was a ban on noise altogether?
Absolutely.
What if your mother was having a breakdown because her husband just died? She started wailing, wailing, wailing. Am I going to ask her to leave too? Why doesn't she leave? I mean, why does my child have to leave?
If somebody's rude at a restaurant, they absolutely should leave under other circumstances.
So there shouldn't be a ban on children just flat out.
There should be a ban on rude behavior.
Rude behavior.
So how do you tell the 28% to get rid of their child and remove the child from the restaurant?
Why doesn't he have a noise ban? There is a level of noise in this restaurant that I am going to accommodate. Anything beyond that, and I will ask you to leave. If your child cannot stay within that level, get him out.
Ask the restaurant owner how they're going to enforce that. Ask our bitchy waiter, how do you enforce getting rid of parents?
Wait a minute. How did he enforce getting rid of children? You put up a sign.
Okay, is this your husband?
Yes.
And you two don't have any children, right?
Correct.
And so you said it's like secondhand smoke.
Absolutely.
Especially, and my child's not going to kill you. That's baby.
It's like back in the 80s, before people felt that secondhand smoke was harmful to one's health, it was an irritant.
I don't understand. Oh, they are an irritant because my child is talking or laughing or being a little loud. You're going to say...
It's the screeching that when they scream loudly.
Again, it is a noise level. Just like smoking kills you.
Does it bother you?
Oh, yeah.
You think they shouldn't?
A lot of people bother me.
These kids shouldn't be allowed to come in.
When they're not well behaved, they don't have a right to be there.
But we're talking about one restaurant. It's in New York City, there's 24,399 restaurants. I don't think there's one restaurant there that has a ban on kids. So if there's one restaurant that has a ban on kids, he should have a right to do it because
he should certainly have a right to do it.
So we're not talking about a ban in every restaurant. Go to the restaurant that has chicken fingers and peanut butter and jelly and grilled cheeses.
So my child has to eat processed chicken food because he's not worthy of steak? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying there's plenty of options for people to go that want to take their kids.
Well,
if one restaurant wants to have a ban, they can.
Having a blog of bitchywaiter.com, how about you get a new profession? If it's that much of an issue, spend that energy and get another job.
All right, look, we've got to take a break here. Next, we'll meet parents who say they dread taking their son out in public. They're mortified when he throws tantrums in front of strangers. And they say, how do you stop it when it happens? We get that it's a problem, we just don't know how to stop it. We'll be right back.
Get off the tables, please. I'm that mom who people look at and think, this child is like a monkey in the restaurant. It's embarrassing. When Daniel throws a tantrum, it's pounding, throwing, crying. When Daniel loses a game, everyone takes cover. I feel like I'm in a three-ring circus. Daniel knows that if he screams and cries in a public place, he's going to get the response that he wants.
It is a constant battle when we take Daniel out.
Daniel, I said not to climb on there, please.
Whatever it takes to make him quiet, do it. It is easier to give in. Daniel wanted a cookie, I'm gonna get him a cookie.
When I discipline him now, I just use a paint stick.
I swat Daniel to get his attention, but Don does the spankings.
Are you gonna stop or do I have to pop your butt? If Brian and I could agree on how to discipline Daniel, I feel like we might be more successful. I'm at my breaking point. I don't know what to do.
Let me go through some of the things that you two have said. We only keep up punishments for one day and then we fold. True? This is a true or false test.
False.
Okay, so you didn't say that?
You're taking it out of context.
You didn't say that?
Is that mine or is that
Yeah,
yours?
no, that's you, unless your name's Brian. Because I'll have the producer that interviewed you come out here and we can talk about this next. It's just easier to let him do what he wants.
That's me.
These are the things that you guys have said. I'll let you each own them. I'm going to get to you in a minute. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. Did either one of you say that the child gets the toys all the time, the world revolves around him? Which one of you said that? Did you say that?
No, not like
and more
that.
importantly,
No,
is it true?
Yes, it's true to an extent.
Okay, because you don't want to be right here. You want to fix a problem, right?
I want to, yeah, but you can't fix a problem unless I describe it accurately, right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay, are you guys consistent with your punishments of this child or your disciplines of this child?
No.
Are you consistent, yes or no?
No, sir, no.
Okay, then what are you arguing about?
Am I arguing with you? Are you asking me about arguing with you?
Yes.
I thought you were saying I was arguing with him. I was saying I'm not arguing with him.
No, if you argue with him too, we'll get to that in a minute. But here's the impression I got from what you guys have told me. His sisters get upset because they get rewards for reaching goals and he gets rewards for doing nothing. Is that true or false?
Again.
Did we make all of this up?
Do you want me to say it the way it goes? I mean...
Yeah.
Okay. My daughters, my two daughters, who are 10 and 12, are very well behaved. They receive, they have goals that they work towards for good grades. I have one who has special needs, my 10-year-old. She gets rewards for certain things. So my son gets a reward for not having a tantrum, whereas my 12-year-old gets a reward for keeping her A. There's different limits. You can't put the same limits on each child. So the point being there, my 12-year-old's goals are much higher. My 10-year-old's goals are much different. My 5-year-old's getting, rewards for you didn't fall apart in the grocery store.
Well, here's the team that's working on this over here. And what I get from reading this, from what you've said, is that you guys were very candid in saying, we recognize we're not consistent with this child. We recognize that he understands there are no consequences when he misbehaves other than maybe getting popped with the whooping stick. Okay, this isn't going to hurt anybody, I understand. You say, unless I'm wrong about this too, that you give in to him daily. I don't care if he wants to play Wii or eat Oreos if it brings peace. I work nights. I'm not interested in what's just. I'm interested in what's quiet. It's easier to spend $3 on Oreos than hear him beg. I tell his sisters to leave him alone instead of reprimanding him. I don't do time out because I don't have the patience to listen to him.
That's correct.
Did you say those things?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you said those things. You just didn't say these things.
Not like that. No, sir.
Okay. What do you think about these things that he said?
That is what he does at home. In public, no, sir. That's not how he behaves.
You disagree on the spanking, right?
I disagree on the prolonged spanking, yes. I'm a fan of, a quick pat on the behind. If you've spoken to them, you still can't get their attention. Give them a rap on the behind to bring that attention. Hey, I'm talking to you. I'm serious. And like the one lady said, if you can kind of snap them to you, that'll bring them out of it a little bit.
Are you consistent in your discipline?
Yes.
So he knows, he can predict with 100% accuracy what's going to happen when he misbehaves?
With me, yes.
And that consequence is what?
It depends on the setting, but it's not always. I've only used that on him one time. That's it. So
What do you use?
let's clarify that right off.
What do you do instead?
Usually it's just talking. I usually speak to him.
But you don't spank him?
No, sir, I don't.
Something else, or your hand?
That is the only, I only use that one time.
Do you spank him with your hand?
No.
So this child has only been spanked one time in his life?
No, he's been spanked by his father. You know, but it's not, there's a difference.
Well, you said you didn't agree with prolonged spanking, so he's only been spanked one time.
His is, it's happening right now, whap, you know, the child's like, oh my gosh, you know, just, you know, whap on the butt, whatever. For me, it's Daniel, you can pull it together right now, or when we get home, you can get a whipping when we get home. Now, I've only actually whipped the child one time. One time. It took that many times for him to realize this is no game. When I'm talking to you in a public place, I don't want to present a circus.
You just have to show it to him?
I keep it in my purse. What happened was we had done everything we could. We are at our wits' end with the schools, with his daycare and his preschool. We did everything from charts to earning things, all that stuff.
Why do you think he's throwing tantrums?
It's more, I wouldn't even really say it's tantrums so much as just behavior in public.
Okay, so he actually doesn't have a tantrum problem?
Not in public, no.
We're good then. I'm gonna ask you what questions y'all have for me after the break, and there's something I heard on the tapes from Dawn that I'll play back for her. All parents need to know what it is, because this may increase bad behavior in a child. We'll be right back. Well, Brian and Dawn want to know how they can raise their son so they can go out in public with him without creating a scene, I think. But since you said there's not really a problem in public.
There is. It's not tantrums. It's more behavior. It's more, you know, constant sit down, Daniel, come over here, climb off of that, don't do that, don't tap your fork on the, you know. He's not screaming, yelling, flipping out. I mean, he doesn't do that in public. Yeah. That, you know, that video was in his school.
Right.
That was, he just lost something. You know, he was upset about it. Yeah. Clearly, you know, he doesn't need to flip out and scream and yell and hit the table. But since we're talking about in public, no, my son's not screaming, yelling in public. He's just inappropriate. It's inappropriate behavior to where I'm constantly, Daniel, come over here, Daniel, sit down, don't touch that. My poor daughters are sitting there going, you know, can't have a conversation with mom over dinner because she's
disruptive.
Exactly.
Okay, take a listen to this and how many times Dawn repeats herself with constant no, don't, and stop. Take a look.
Daniel, don't do that. Stop. Don't knock it over. Don't climb under the table. Don't walk in the clothes. Don't lay on the floor. I said not to climb on there. I said not to climb on there. I said not to climb on there, please. Come over here and stop. No. Stop. I said stop, or do I have to pop your butt?
Wow. You're busy in public. So what's your theory? Why is he... you used the words, what, out of control, disruptive? How would you describe that behavior? Is that out of control?
Yes, that is out of control.
Okay, out of control. So why do you think he's out of control?
That's why I'm here. I feel like that it's, a lot of it's attention maybe, I don't know.
Well, he's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Maybe hyper, curious, I don't know. I mean, he wants to see this, he wants to see that. He gets bored easily.
Do you consider this behavior what I call change-worthy?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
This is worthy of change. You want to change this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're just confused as to what is the correct way to do that.
Well, let me tell you the process I think you need to go through. You know, first off, I always work in terms of differential diagnosis. You need to rule out certain things. You need to rule out that there's not a neurological problem, there's not a problem in terms of his brain development that would cause him to not have impulse control. You would have to rule that out, and you would do that by seeing a child neurologist, or your pediatrician could talk to you about that. So you got to make sure that there's not something where you're not asking him to do something he can't do because he doesn't have a brain process the way that it wants to be.
We've already done that. We've already spoken to his pediatrician.
Yeah, I figured as much. But there may be things that you need to look at further, because and then you have to consider whether or not there's some type of mental emotional disorder, where it would be something like Asperger's or some form of autism or something. You have to rule out these more serious things. And I can tell you, in the vast majority of circumstances, it's going to come back to the manner in which you are parenting him. It's going to come back to the manner in which you're parenting him. And you say you're very consistent in your discipline. He knows what he's going to get. Well, how's it working?
It works for me, to be honest.
Great. Thanks for coming. Seriously. Thanks for coming. We'll be right back. You're wanting to argue instead. I did not get an opportunity to offer you one bit of solution because you wanted to play semantics the entire time to be right. So you're right. I give up. You're right. You are. It's not you. Everything you do is consistent. Everything you do is working. But you still got a problem. How do you have a problem if everything you're doing is working?
I understand, but you have to define the problem correctly.
Answer that question. If you have a problem that you consider change-worthy and everything you're doing is working, then why do you have the problem?
I mean, I guess we have the problem, but I guess what I wanted was to know, I mean, you asked me if it's working for me. You know, yeah, certain things are.
You say you have a way of disciplining. No, no, don't stop. No, no, don't stop. Don't. Right. It isn't working. He's not responding to it. You don't get that what you're doing isn't working.
Okay, so, okay, I agree with that.
Here are the 5 steps to disciplining your child without spanking. Number 1, you need to commit yourself and understand that it's crucial that your child knows what you're going to do and you're going to do what you say. I mean, they've got to be able to predict with 100% accuracy what they choose when they choose the behavior. And this really kicks in around 4 or 5 years of age. They can start to pick that up. Number 2, you have to be realistic in your expectations of your child. Don't ask them to do something that he or she can't do. Because, I mean, sometimes you got to wait for them to grow and their brains to develop before they can connect some concepts. Number 3, you have to define your child's currency. There's something that your child values, I'll promise you. And once you understand what your child values, you can withdraw positive things or introduce negative things as a form of discipline. You don't need to yell to do it. You don't need to spank them to do it. You just need to be sure that they understand, I can get access to this by doing A. I lose access to that by doing B. 4, give your children predictable consequences. It's important that they understand that the same result will come from the same behavior and that mom and dad are going to give you the same reaction. It can't be good cop, bad cop. Don't get caught up in that. And number 5, use child-level logic. You need to explain your values in terms your child can understand. Because sometimes we talk way over their heads. And one of the best things you can do to stop tantrum behavior is really make eye contact, talk to them in a soft and engaging voice, empathetically. You must really be frustrated. You really want this toy in the store. I understand that must really, you're upset that you don't get that. If you'll talk to them and they realize they're being heard, it kind of drains the energy an awful lot. I want to thank all of my guests and my studio audience here today. I hope you can join our Facebook page and share your opinions. Also, continue to let me know what you think on the message boards. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Due to strong sexual content, viewer discretion is advised.
Today on Dr. Phil.
What would you think of somebody sexually molesting his own daughter?
That is sick.
They say you did it.
I would never touch my daughter.
What should happen to you if you're guilty of this?
You should lock me under the jail. Under the jail.
My daughter told me that he did it.
I have to believe her because she's my little girl and I have to protect her.
Are you behind all of this? Have you programmed this child?
No.
You think this is a ploy to keep you from your child?
I do.
Don't put my granddaughter back in the hands of this monster.
I asked them to take a polygraph test because somebody is lying. Let's do it. if we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, 3, take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. Go, Dr. Phil. This is a custody battle that has crossed state lines with very serious accusations now being leveled against the father. Now, I don't often get letters from dads, but Todd wrote me that he is devastated after being accused of the worst you can imagine. He is accused of sexually molesting his own daughter. Now, this is serious in his view. As you know, any father would feel that way. Now, the question is, did it happen, or is this a case of parental alienation? Is this a case of a mother just trying to keep dad away? Or is this a man who, in fact, did the unthinkable? Well, that's certainly what Grandma thinks. Take a look.
Once when I was putting Tanaya to bed, I saw her touching her vaginal area. And I said, Tanaya, what are you doing? And she said, my daddy do that to me. So I called Latia. I was just shocked.
I didn't believe what my mom was telling me. I was in denial. I didn't want to believe that he would do something like that.
They're cold. Well, we don't want it too hot.
Once when I was giving Tanaya a bath, and she started inserting her fingers into her vaginal area. And I said, Tanaya, what are you doing? And she said, my daddy do that.
She told me that her daddy hurt her vagina, and she said, Daddy touched my vagina with his boo-boo. I asked Tanaya, like, what is a boo-boo? She picked up a wooden block, and she said it looked like this.
I'm having a hard time trying to understand why somebody would hurt my Tanaya.
I've never touched my daughter inappropriately. I've never kissed my daughter inappropriately. These accusations are totally false.
When I think of Todd now, I hate him. Like, I wish Todd was gone.
It feels like somebody has stabbed me in my heart. My granddaughter is suffering. For what? Why? Because Todd decided to be selfish.
Todd is a low down, dirty who molested his daughter. He's a child molester.
Todd is a pervert. I think Todd should pay for what he did to my granddaughter. He needs to spend some time in prison. He doesn't need to be allowed to do this to any other child.
If Todd would spend time with Tanaya, my greatest fear would be that he would molest her again.
I have done nothing wrong.
Well, Todd says he's done nothing wrong. As you heard, the two women involved are giving very specific details of how they say Todd molested his daughter. And I'm going to talk about what those examples are in just a minute. Why did you want to be here today?
I wanted to be here today to prove that I've never done anything like this to my daughter. I love my daughter. That is my world. She is everything to me. And for them to accuse me of something of this magnitude, to be, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. She's not just punishing me, she's punishing my daughter. She's punishing everyone in my family.
So you're saying that at no time in your life, no time in this child's life, have you ever had inappropriate contact with her?
I've never had inappropriate contact with my daughter.
What would you think of somebody that would do that to a little girl?
That's sick. That is sick.
They say you did it. You've seen this show. You wrote in to me. You know how I feel about these things. When somebody comes to me with an allegation that a child has been hurt, molested, abused, neglected, in any way exploited, the system has to assume that is correct and prove it wrong. If you've done this, and I didn't drill down and figure out everything that I could to bring a light to this, I would be cheating your innocent daughter. Let's talk about what they say that you did.
Everything that they said is a lie. Latia knows what type of father I am. She has been around me with my daughter Everyone knows what type of father I am with my daughter.
Well, now we know what Latia thinks because we've seen it on tape. Did you listen to the tape piece
Yes,
that we
I did.
played?
Yes,
did
sir,
you
I
listen
did.
to what she said?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. What did you hear her say?
I heard her say that she hates me, that I've done this to my daughter. We went through a bad breakup. I have a new girlfriend, and that's the only reason why she's been devious to take my daughter away from me. I would never touch my daughter. I would never in my life touch my daughter in that fashion. No way, no how. Never have ever even thought of something of that sick magnitude. I would never harm my daughter. Never. I would never touch my daughter like that.
So they just made this up because you have a new girlfriend. Is this her?
Yes, it is.
This is Kristen?
Yes, it is.
What should happen to you if you're guilty of this?
You should lock me under the jail. Under the jail. I've never done anything like this to my daughter. Anybody who does anything like this should be in jail.
But if it turns out that you have, then you agree you ought to be locked up. You ought to be taken off the street so you can't get to other children.
There's nothing to agree to because I've never touched my daughter inappropriately.
Well, up next, the last time he saw them was in court 5 months ago. He has not seen the two women that are accusing him of molesting his own daughter. I let him tell me his side first. Now we're going to hear from the accusers.
I believe that Diana is the mastermind to this whole situation. I totally believe that Diana and Latia are putting things in my daughter's head. My daughter has never told me about, Dad, you touched this, or Dad, you did this wrong. My daughter wouldn't say those things.
I am the walking example of a great father, and my daughter knows that.
I've always gone above and beyond for Latia and Tanaya.
The entire time that we were together, I provided. I took care of us. I made sure Tanaya had everything.
I've always helped Latia in any possible way with Tanaya.
Todd hasn't paid any child support. He's supposed to pay me $490 a month, and I have not received anything.
I have been a perfect dad.
Todd has never provided, and he's the worst example for a father.
Well, today I'm trying to get to the bottom of some very serious allegations. Todd's ex-girlfriend, Latia, and her mother say that he molested his little girl. I take those allegations very seriously, even though they have not been proven as yet. Now, Todd says he's innocent and is proud of his parenting skills. But Grandma says Todd is a danger to his daughter.
My mom and Todd, they don't get along at all. My mom thinks Todd is a poor excuse for a man.
Diana never liked me for some odd reason. Maybe she felt that I didn't treat her daughter the way that she needed to be treated.
I witnessed his verbal abuse. I didn't like it. I didn't like Todd being controlling of my daughter.
I believe that Diana is the mastermind to this whole situation. I totally believe that Diana and Latia are putting things in my daughter's head. My daughter has never told me about, Dad, you touched this, or Dad, you did this wrong. My daughter wouldn't say those things.
If Todd thinks I'm making this up, it's
This is my daughter. You have no power of authority over anything with my daughter. I make the decisions with my daughter. Diana is nobody to me.
All right, well, I'm here with Todd, Latia, and Latia's mother, Diana. Now, okay, you've been watching the show from backstage, right?
Yes.
So you know I take this very seriously.
Of course.
And I intend, before this is over with, I intend to get to the bottom of this.
Of course.
Because somebody is lying.
Of course.
In
definitely.
my view, somebody here is lying. We're going to do what we can to find out. Now, let me ask you something. Do you really believe this man has done what you're accusing him of doing?
I say that he did it because my daughter told me that he did it. I can't not believe what she told me. I feel that I would be a horrible mother if I did not automatically protect her after she told me what she has told me.
You do have to take it seriously. There's no question. You heard what I said about that. We have to assume these children are telling the truth. But are you saying that because that's what your mother told you? Or are you saying that because that's what you believe? Because your mother has criticized you for not being a good parent because you didn't believe that he had done this, because you didn't take early steps to protect your daughter. So are you doing all this to please her and escape her criticism, or are you doing it because you really believe he's molested your child?
I'm doing it because my daughter told me that he did it.
Do you believe that?
I believe it because my daughter told me. Yes, I believe it.
You don't sound like you believe it.
I believe it.
I'm telling you, you don't sound like you believe it. You sound like, yeah, she said it, and yeah, my mother's all over me about it, but I got a feeling that you can't look at him and tell him I believe you are capable of sexually molesting our child.
Well, Dr. Phil, I will never want to believe that the father of my child would harm her in any way. Because he's never, ever, I won't lie to you, he's never, ever given me a reason to think that he will harm her. Never, never. But when you have your child come to you and tell you that this happened to them, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I feel that I'm supposed to believe my daughter. Like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I have to believe her. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If it didn't happen, I pray that it didn't happen, but I don't understand why my daughter would say it did. But I have to believe her because she's my little girl and I have to protect her. I have to protect her.
Are you behind all this? Have you programmed this child?
No.
You don't like him? You don't want him around? You don't want him around your grandchild? You don't want him around your daughter? You want him out and gone? He left her for another woman. Is that what this is all about?
No. No.
Is it about, okay, I'll get you, you son of a bitch. You want to do that? I'll show you how to play this game.
No.
Is that what we're talking about here?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
She made a lot of other allegations against you as well, you know. Yeah. She said that you have pulled a gun on her. Did you pull a gun on her?
I've never pulled a gun on you.
You never pulled a gun on me?
I never pulled a gun on you. Are you serious? You didn't even come over there.
I did come over there. Don't tell me that I'm lying because
I'm not. So I pulled a gun in your face.
I'm nothing to lie about.
So I pulled a gun right in your face.
You pulled a gun on me?
Well, you know what's interesting to me is that you have a very different energy and conviction about that than you do about the fact that he is after your daughter.
Dr. Phil, I don't want, because Tanaya told me that. I've never saw Todd harm Tanaya in any kind of way. I've never seen him harm her in any kind of way. But my daughter told me this.
She supposedly told you first.
Yes.
Then you told your daughter.
His words to me were, Mom, no, Todd, I don't think so.
And you criticized her for that, and I've said that. You said that to us. She also says that you raped her.
I raped you?
Yes.
Why would you try to get back with me if I raped you?
I tried to get you to leave and you wouldn't leave.
Are you serious?
Yes,
You've been calling my
serious.
mom trying to get us back together.
You know I called the show. I don't understand why I'm here. I don't understand why I'm here.
We're here because of my daughter. Not because I hurt you.
You didn't come here to tell the truth about anything.
It don't matter what we went through.
All right.
Because the allegations that you're giving me now, that's false.
Everybody take a deep breath. We're going to take a break. Latia says she has proof that Todd is guilty of molesting his daughter. What is it? We're going to see it after the break.
After a visit with Todd, Tanaya's behavior was out of control. When I would ask her where she learned those things, she would say, from my daddy and his new girlfriend, Kristen.
I definitely believe this is the case of ex-girlfriend gone bad. I believe that she's still upset that we're not together. I feel that Latia is doing all this because she started to see that I was happy with someone else.
Don't flatter yourself. I'm not upset that Todd broke up with me. I'm actually relieved. I'm able to be the best mom that I can be to my daughter, and that's what means the most to me.
Well, as you've seen, there is a lot of unfinished emotional business between this couple, not just about whether or not Todd has molested his daughter, Tanaya, but whether or not there was violence here, whether there were threats here. Todd says, this is over. He says, those things didn't happen. He has moved past his relationship with Latia, but the two are still fighting over custody of their 4-year-old daughter. She has accused him of molesting this precious child. He says, look, I have done no wrong, but Latia says, judging by their daughter's behavior, it's obvious that he's lying, and she even thinks Todd's new girlfriend is a part of the problem.
After a visit with Todd, Tanaya's behavior was out of control. She would have her Barbie dolls like on top of each other, moaning and kissing. And when I would ask her where she learned those things, she would say, from my daddy and his new girlfriend, Kristen. What I think happened is that Tanaya had to have been in the bed with Todd and his girlfriend while they were having sex. I also think that Todd moved on to acting out, doing those things to my daughter.
My daughter's never seen me be intimate. I've kissed Kristen once, and my daughter's told me, Daddy, that's nasty. And I say, okay, baby, I won't do that again.
I tried to talk to him about it and ask him where did she get it from. And immediately, like, he went off on me and just started telling me I was brainwashing my daughter.
Latia is lying. It may be a parent's fault for a child seeing certain things on TV that's showing those things, but kids pick up things from everywhere. Kids are sponges, so there's no telling where she picked it up from.
I feel like my daughter was robbed of her innocence. That makes me feel horrible. Like, she's such a precious, sweet little girl. Like, why would you do that to her?
Well, I'm adding Kristen to our conversation here. She is Todd's new girlfriend, and you've seen Tanaya. You notice that we don't show her face because I don't do that with children in situations like this, but trust me, she is a beautiful and precious child, and no child deserves that, certainly not this child. There's a lot of bad things being said up here about your boyfriend. What do you think about all that?
I think that as far as their relationship goes with each other, it has nothing to do with what we're here for today, which is about Tanaya and the allegations that they are saying that he molested his daughter. It seems like it comes up a lot about Latia and Todd and things that Latia has said to me. It always starts out with and ends with her and Todd when it should be about Tanaya.
Have you two been inappropriate in front of this child?
Absolutely not.
Have you two had any kind of intimate interactions
Absolutely
in front
not.
of this child?
Absolutely.
Have you had sex in front of the child?
Never, never.
Have you come close to it? Have you done
Nothing.
anything in front of this child that would cause the child to mimic this behavior?
Absolutely not. Nothing. Nothing.
You know, to me, if something's happened to this child, then I want to take whatever measures I can to cause that to be stopped. If it hasn't happened to the child and somebody's saying it is, I want to take whatever measures I can to see that that's stopped. Now, I've been doing this 35 years, and I have to say, you become a suspect in this because you're the one to whom the child reportedly said this to begin with.
Right.
You're the first stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means I wouldn't care who you were, you have to be someone that is looked at. And I got to tell you, what you're reporting here is very suspicious to me.
Why?
It's very suspicious to me because after doing this for 35 years, after having done these interviews with children that are suspected of having been molested, knowing what their word power is, their vocabulary is, and what their concept formation is, I find it really hard to believe that a child that age could and would articulate all of these different and complex allegations to you or to anyone else. Having interviewed child after child after child, I have worked as an officer of the court. I have been involved in these interviews. You know, I've got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD in psychology. I then did a year's postdoctoral training in forensic psychology, and this falls under forensics. I've then worked as an officer of the court. I've interviewed these children, and I never one time in 35 years have I ever heard a child articulate what you say this child said to you. Now, I don't know whether, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're lying.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you're not.
Okay.
What I'm saying is you have a suspect report here, and any professional worth their salt would say this is suspect. You also have what appears to me to be a high level of motivation because he has hurt her.
Okay.
Not that he has hurt your granddaughter, but that he has hurt her. So here's the big question. Were these allegations made up so Latia could gain custody of her daughter? Now, that's what Todd thinks. And if so, it's something that's been referred to in a lot of states as parental alienation, and is a dastardly thing to do. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing to do if that's what's happened. Is there a master puppeteer here? Is it her? Is it Diana? Or is she simply a gatekeeper that got this information and passed it along? We're going to talk about all of that and try to get to some answers after the break.
Latia has done all of this just to gain full custody of my daughter.
I would never put these things in my daughter's head. I mean, she's 4.
The only way she can hurt me is to take my daughter away from me.
Well, Latia and Diana believe that Todd molested his daughter. Now, I say that because that's what they say. I said straight up, I don't really think Latia believes that. I think she says, I have to treat it as legitimate until I know otherwise. But Todd says Latia is just using these allegations as a way to gain custody of their little girl. Take a look.
I believe Latia knows that I didn't touch my daughter. Latia has done all of this just to gain full custody of my daughter.
What kind of parent would make these things up? What kind of parent would say to their child, oh, say daddy did this to you, or say daddy did that? That's just ridiculous.
Latia is doing this out of spite to take me away from my daughter.
I would never put these things in my daughter's head. I mean, she's 4. He keeps saying, I didn't do it, I took a lie detector test. But why is she saying this?
The only way she can hurt me is to take my daughter away from me. And she has. She's done exactly what she sought out to do.
Okay, so there's no question in your mind. A, you say you know you didn't do this.
No, I didn't.
You believe him?
I totally
I assume you do.
Absolutely.
And you think this is a ploy to keep you from your child?
I do.
And you've had problems seeing your child. Has there been an emergency custody order at this point that gives you control of this child? Sole custody of this child?
Give me sole custody. He has been awarded supervised visits.
Supervised visits, because, again, the court system, like me, is saying this is a false positive. We have to protect the child until we figure out what's going on. So on an emergency basis, you get sole custody and you can't see the child without somebody there watching you every second. How do you feel about having to be watched with your own daughter?
To have somebody stand there and tell me I can't hug or kiss my daughter the way I always have. It's not right.
Well, is it right? Brat Berman is here today. He is an attorney that specializes in family law. You've seen him on the show before because we bring the best of the best. and I have such confidence and respect for this man. He says that Todd is going to have a really hard time proving to the courts that he should have custody of his daughter. Brat, it's tough to unring a bell, and it seems like the court system is flowing in the direction of excluding him from his daughter's life. What happens now? Why you say it's hard?
I think it's going to be difficult. I think the first problem was when your home court transferred jurisdiction to a court that's 2,000 miles away. You're appearing on the telephone, on a speaker box in front of a judge. It's hard to get your point across that way. Plus, it's now been about a year or so since you've seen your daughter. Courts want you to see your daughter more and more for you to get more time with her.
He's fighting a logistics battle. He's not there. They can't look him in the eye. They can't ask him follow-up questions and look at his nonverbal behavior. The finders of fact don't have all the information they want, and so it's easier to just err in the direction of protecting the child.
Absolutely. And the fact that Todd is not able to come out and visit frequently, continuously, is only going to work against Todd as he's trying to gain more time with his daughter.
Does he have to pick up and move there? I mean, if he really wants to have a fighting chance to overcome these allegations and restore some type of normal flow, does he need to be where he can attend these hearings? Does he need to be where he can have a regular visitation history with his daughter?
That may be your only option at this point, unless Latia is willing to facilitate and pay for half of the trips there and make your daughter available. That may be your only option going forward.
Well, here's the thing. The judge has said that she has to pay half of the ticket. She didn't pay half of the ticket. Say, why didn't you pay half the ticket? She said, he's supposed to say child support. He's saying they've ordered a child support that I can't pay. I don't have the money to pay it. So she said, I'm not going to pay for half his ticket when he isn't paying anything for the child. So now we're in a money battle as well. You know, there are two people here that I am very interested in knowing how they come out on this, and that would be Todd and Diana, because you were the receiver of this first information. So I asked them both to take a polygraph test. Now, I have not seen the results, but the examiner told me somebody is lying. And we're going to find out who when we come back.
I'm about to take a polygraph test. I have nothing to lie about.
I'm ready to take another polygraph test to prove my innocence.
My best advice is that if you did something you shouldn't have done, then don't take this test.
This is a parent's worst nightmare. It's extremely hard for me to believe that Todd molested my daughter. I would never think that Todd would do anything like that to Tanaya. He always seemed to me like to love her and would never hurt her.
The grandparents' worst nightmare is to know that every time I put Tanaya in Todd's hands, he was doing something to my granddaughter. Not a day has gone by that we have not been living in hell, because every day we think about when is he gonna pay for what he's done to Naya.
Well, we're back, and I have envelopes here that contain the results to both Todd's and Diana's polygraph test. Now, this test, these two polygraph tests, were administered by Jack Tremarco. If you watch this show, you've seen Mr. Tremarco before. He is an ex-FBI agent, and as I say, we find the best of the best. I mean, there's no reason not to. Either of you have any question as to the professionalism or conduct of Mr. Tremarco?
No, I
do you have any question about the validity of the test that he has given here?
Not at all.
No.
Are you okay for me to reveal the results right now?
Yeah.
Here on the show, both of you are?
Yeah.
You're okay with this? All right, Todd, we're going to look at yours first. Mr. Tremarco asked you question number one. Have you ever touched Tanaya's vaginal area for a sexual reason? Your answer was?
No.
And the result was not deceptive. The result was that is not deceptive, that you are telling the truth. when he said that? Are you relieved to hear that? How do you feel about that?
I feel, there aren't any words that anyone could use to even define how happy I am about that, but it still does not answer to me why she said it happened.
Well, let's talk about that. The first question that was asked you, did Tanaya tell you that Todd touched her vagina? And your answer was yes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
And the answer, according to Jack Tramarco, is that that response is deceptive. So that means that when you said yes, she told you that, you were not being truthful, according to the results of this test, and that what you are saying is a lie.
It's not a lie, Dr. Phil. I can swear to that. It's not a lie. So I don't know what to say.
The second question, which is a control question, says, within the past year, did Tanaya tell you that Todd touched her vagina? So within the past year, you said yes. The result of that was deceptive, that was a lie.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
What do you say about this?
I don't know what to say because I wouldn't come on TV. I've got too much to lose. This is my daughter. This is my granddaughter.
You use my daughter to get to me?
This is my granddaughter. This is Dr. Phil. This is my granddaughter.
Imagine your daughter was taken away from you for 340-something days.
Don't listen to me.
Don't you dare
my
talk to me.
granddaughter came to me and said this, Dr. Phil. I don't have any reason to lie. In other words, me and my daughter both are lying. I have not scripted this. I don't care. I have not scripted anything. I have no reason to lie. No reason whatsoever. No reason whatsoever. My granddaughter has told me this. And I hope you don't put him back in the hands of this monster.
Daughter away from you.
I want
my daughter away from you.
I
want my daughter away from you.
Of this monster.
I will be fighting for the courts for
I don't
you to
care.
be away from
I don't
my
care.
daughter.
Because I honestly believe my granddaughter.
You are poisoning my daughter.
I honestly believe my granddaughter.
I want you to take a look at this, just this little piece right here, and I want to ask you something.
My daughter is suffering. My granddaughter is suffering. For what? Why? Because Todd decided to be selfish. Because Todd decided to be selfish.
I hear the words in a painful and horrible report, but I don't see any tears.
Dr. Phil.
I hear your voice crying, but I don't see any tears. Why would that be?
Dr. Phil, look, I have been aching with pain for the last year and a half. Understand me?
Imagine
if not
what
longer
pain
than
I've been
that.
going through.
If not longer
Imagine
than
my
that.
daughter
If
taken
not
away
longer
from
than
me
that.
because of
me
your-
and my family have been going through hell. If not longer than that, because this whoever, I don't even know this
That's
monster.
what it is. It's
this
your hate for
monster,
me.
This
It's your hate
monster.
for me.
No, I don't have hate for you. I don't
Yes,
have.
you do.
My mother has taught.
We just proved
We don't
it.
have. I don't have
We just
hate.
proved
I don't
it.
have hate, Dr. Phil.
You would not be around my daughter.
No, I don't have hate.
You would not
I
be
don't
around
have
my daughter.
hate. I swear to God, I don't have hate.
Jack, do you believe that he's been inappropriate with his child?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I do have a question because I don't believe that my mother would tell my daughter to say any of the things that she has said.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me go to, okay, they say he didn't do it. He passed the polygraph. All right, he didn't do it. But why is she saying that he did it? I want to know why. Where do I go now Because I don't know what happened. I don't know.
This is where it came from.
No, I don't believe
It
Tanaya
didn't
told
come
her to
from
say.
me.
I don't believe Tanaya that
It
she
did
told
not
Tanaya
come
to
from
say
me.
it. I don't.
It did not come from me.
Do you believe now that, in fact, that he has been falsely accused? That all signs point to that?
I do.
Okay. Because that's a place to begin. I mean, and I got to tell you, guilty people don't tend to seek me out. They don't. They just don't, because they know I'm going to ask the next question and the next question and the next question. We're going to take a break for just 1 second, and I'm going to ask the two of you to leave. I'm going to ask you to go backstage. I'm going to ask you to go back to the audience or backstage, wherever. I want to talk to just these two for just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Latia, you asked a question a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I don't believe this of my mother.
No.
And I'm going to tell you, I believe you may be wrong there. Let me finish. I think your mother may be very well intended, but she may be highly misguided. I don't know. I just met her today. I don't think your mother is an evil person. I think that she really has a problem with him because he has hurt you, and I think she has lost all objectivity here. It's very important that the two of you try to find a way to both be in your daughter's life. And I don't know if it means you need to move or what, but if you accept what your instincts have told you, what the evidence suggests, then you don't have cause to fear that he's molesting your daughter. And you two don't have to come back together, but you need to find a way to both of you be in this child's life. And I hope that you will. I hope that you will. Todd, what did you want to say?
I just want to say thank you.
What did you want to say?
I apologize for accusing you, but I just want you to feel where I was coming from. And if she were to come to you and tell you that I did that, I would just only hope that you would protect her the same way that I felt I had to.
And you do understand that, right? I totally understand. Would it be all right for Todd to see Tanaya backstage? Would you ask him to do that? Because she's in your custody. You have to ask him to do it. Would you do that?
Do you want to see tonight?
I would love to see my baby.
We'll be right back. When a child makes a complaint, you have to treat it as legitimate until you prove that it's not. I think these two now have some understanding that you can build on. I'm glad you wrote in. This was a tough journey, and we've come a long way in an hour. And it just goes to show you, when people lean forward and really try, you can cover some ground. Please be our guest and allow us to buy your next plane ticket to see your little girl. Special thanks to polygraph expert Jack Tremarco and family law expert Brat Berman. You guys are the tops. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What happened?
Daddy.
Today on Dr. Phil. He's a soldier, but his battle scars,
full-blown knuckles to the face, stomach, groin,
come from his wife.
I have an anger issue.
What are you so angry about?
She can't control her rage.
Your husband's mother. You beat her up and then threatened to kill her.
I can't live a lifestyle like this anymore.
Now her family fears for her daughter.
You sent a text message, I'm ready to beat your granddaughter black and blue. If you watch this show at all, you know that all of us here at the Dr. Phil Show are on a mission to end the silence on domestic violence. Now, I have always said you never lay hands on a woman in anger. You just don't do it. There's no circumstance, there's no excuse, there's no reason. But what if it's the other way around? It's a scenario that doesn't happen as often, but can be just as serious. Today, the story of a man who is the victim of domestic violence at the hands of a woman. Now, it may seem hard to believe, but Quinn is a soldier who spent 4 years in the U.S. Army, did 2 tours in Iraq, and his biggest physical and emotional scars have not been from going to war. They're from fighting and being attacked by his wife. Take a look.
When I first met Sarah, it was the greatest thing. She was the one.
We were dating about 7 months, and he was getting ready to deploy to Iraq, and so we went and eloped. When we came home from Iraq, we started arguing about everything.
It'd get to the point where it was nose to nose, face to face, arguing back and forth.
Our fights would get very physical. I would start punching. I was the aggressor.
Full-blown knuckles to the face, back of the head, ears, stomach, groin, just anywhere.
He would try and block me. He would try and keep me from doing it.
I would never hit Sarah back because I was raised to not put my hands on a woman.
One time I ended up shattering a glass door over the top of his head.
You end up getting 7 or 8 stitches. She's busted my lip. She's cracked one of my teeth. I've had bruises all over my legs.
I don't know how to control my anger.
Sarah's beyond out of control.
Quinn calls the police because he was tired of being hurt.
She's been arrested for domestic violence twice.
One of the times I was arrested, I spent 5 days in jail. If I get arrested for domestic violence again, I'm looking at spending up to a year in jail. It scares the hell out of me. I feel horrible about what I did to him. I don't understand how I could do it and why I did it.
I'm terrified that one day she's going to come unhinged. Somebody in this world is going to have to pay for it.
Okay, now you two have not seen each other in a month.
Correct.
Correct, but you've been married for 5 years.
Correct.
Right? There are children involved?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
We have a 2-year-old little girl, and we have a 6.5-month-old little boy.
Mm-hmm. And why are you here?
I have an anger issue, and I don't have good relationships with my family, and I need help.
What are you so angry about?
I'm angry at my parents. I'm angry at the kind of marriage I've had. I want to fix it all. I want a normal life.
Are you a victim, perpetrator, or both?
Both.
You're a victim of what?
Abuse. Child abuse.
And who abused you?
My dad.
And where is he?
He's here today.
I don't see him. Where is he? Would it surprise you that he's not going to participate?
No.
Because he was here to participate, and he's participated in some of the pre-show work, but when it came down to sign a typical release for the show, he said he wouldn't sign it. And I would have thought he would have been the first one out here, because the fact of the matter is he has abused you, correct?
Yes.
And he's gone to jail for it.
Yes.
And now he's seeing the results of that in your life with the rage and anger that you have now. But he opted not to participate. Why are you here?
Because I need to get everything off my chest towards my wife and get her to actually realize what she has put me through and why my mind is the way it is towards her.
By the way, I understand you've done 2 tours of duty in Iraq.
That is correct, yes, sir.
May I thank you for your service. Here's a message from Quinn to Sarah telling her just how hard it's been to be a victim of her abuse.
Sarah, I love you with all my heart for my children, but I do not love you as a wife. The physical, the visual, the mental scars that you put to my body, to my brain, and to my heart, it's not worth it. I can't live a lifestyle like this anymore.
Respond to that, please.
I know I've put you through a lot of crap that I never should have put you through. And I know you don't deserve somebody that's gonna beat you, that's gonna fight with you. I know I need help. I love you. I want to be your wife. I want us to raise our kids together and not in separate homes. I want to change. I want to get help. I want to become that person you fell in love with. I want to be a mom, not a monster. I want to be your wife.
What do you think about what she's saying?
In those past 2 years of begging and pleading, and then the mental and physical abuse continuing after we've been begging for remorse and help for her and been denied, I look at it as, why does it have to come down to this before y'all actually change?
When you face physical and mental, verbal abuse, we're talking about, and I made a list. It actually took 2 cards to make the list. You punch him, slap him, you've kicked him in the face, chest, arms, and back on a weekly basis. This isn't like you have a bad day once a year. This is regular. You throw things at him, jewelry boxes, candles, phones, remote controls, toys, car keys. You slammed a glass door, put 9 stitches in his head and a permanent scar. You punched him, kicked him to the ground, and stomped on him for a minute while he begs you to stop. You've had the police called on you 8 times. 8 times. In April of last year, you were arrested for domestic violence, spent 5 days in jail and 12 weeks of anger management. Apparently not a successful course. 8 weeks later, before you completed the 12 weeks of anger management, you were arrested for domestic violence again. And the verbal is as bad or worse, isn't it? You've called him smart-ass, dumbass, idiot. You know, I can't even bleep these. But it was interesting. One of the things that you've chosen to do is attack his manhood. Man's spent 2 tours in Iraq in a high-risk situation, but you've been his manhood. Have you cheated on him?
Yes.
And so you've come back and said, compared to you, this guy's great. You're nothing, right? You can't do anything for me.
Out of spite, out of anger, in fights, yes.
You wanted to hurt him. Well, you did.
And how can you do something like that to somebody that you claim you love?
Well, we'll talk about that. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, the mothers of these two are going to join in and give us their point of view. We'll be right back.
I blame my parents for why I have so much anger built up. My dad has probably physically hit me more than 20 times.
I never laid a hand on her.
I don't know where she gets this.
When I get mad, I feel like physical violence is the only way I know how to handle the situation.
Something would spark in Sarah's mind, and then the rage would just go.
When my adrenaline starts kicking in, that's when I can't control it. I think I could get violent enough to kill somebody.
What scares me the most about Sarah is her temper and how she cannot control it. She has no control over it at all.
Well, that was Sarah talking about why she can't control her own anger. Now, Sarah's husband, Quinn, says that Sarah physically abuses him and that she won't take responsibility for her anger issues. She blames her parents for her violent behavior. Take a look.
I blame my parents for why I have so much anger built up. I was physically abused by my dad.
My husband never laid a hand on her until that day when she was 16 years old.
I don't look at it as it was discipline, it was more abuse.
I spanked her with a belt because talking to her wasn't doing any good.
I did get regular spankings when I was 16. My dad has probably physically hit me more than 20 times.
I never laid a hand on her.
My mom never stood up to my dad, and she would say one thing to us, but when he said something, she would take his side.
I don't know where she gets this, that all we did was beat her and scream and yell at her, because we never did anything like that.
There's some things bothering her. I don't know what they are, but I know something's eating at her inside big time.
I have so much rage towards him.
The way Sarah acts and her aggression, I don't know what causes it.
Well, Sarah's mom, Tracy, and mother-in-law, Renee, are both here, and they're going to join this conversation. You have to be concerned about your son and his safety, and I assume your grandchildren.
And my grandchildren, yes.
Tell me what your thinking is.
My thinking is if Sarah doesn't get help, as she admitted, she is capable of killing him. And I believe that because my granddaughter is 2 years old and can talk back and have an attitude, that she will escalate her violence towards her child.
Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
You think these grandchildren are at risk?
Yes. If she doesn't get help.
And that Quinn's at risk. Well, Quinn says Sarah has been striking out at him with physical violence since they got married, but it wasn't until she got into a fist fight and beat up his mother that he said, enough is enough. Take a look.
One time I was staying at Quinn's parents' house and I overheard his mom talking about me. I confronted her, I hit her.
We just went round and round and round in circles. I ripped her shirt, broke her necklace.
I punched her in the face multiple times, pulled her hair. I beat the crap out of her.
I got in the middle and separated them.
It blacked one eye, bled across my nose, and blacked my other eye.
Her forehead was swollen up almost the size of a small volleyball.
I was completely dumbfounded that it happened.
I felt bad. Can't believe I did it.
I did not call the police on her. She told Quinn that if the police were called and she went to jail, that when she got out, she would kill me.
What do you think about that when you look back on it? I mean, because you just described attacking your husband's mother. You said you beat her up, her head's swollen up, you've hit her in the face, and then threatened to kill her if you were held to account for what you had done. Looking back on that now, what do you say about that?
I don't know why I did it. I can't believe I did something like that. I don't see how I'm capable of saying that, how I'm capable of doing it. I love her. I've had more of a mother-daughter relationship with her than I have my own mom.
Even
for
after
a long
she
time.
beat me.
Even after she beat you up? And then you sent a text message to her just a few months ago. Okay, well, I'm not going to make it again because I have no one to take the kids for a few. Plus, I'm ready to beat your granddaughter black and blue. I so cannot take much more of her.
I did write that, but knowing how I talk and how things are said in the household, I didn't think she was going to take it like that. I get to the point
She wasn't going to take what, like what?
that I'm going to beat my daughter to the point I hurt her.
But Sarah, when you can take a belt to a 2-year-old, you can hurt her because you can't stop. You didn't like being beat.
No, I didn't. But when all I know is a belt, because that's how I was raised.
But have I not tried to help you
Yes,
not
I
do
was.
it?
Do not sit there and lie.
Don't start yelling at me. I'll get up and leave.
Well, then leave.
Lie about what? What is she lying about?
They whooped me with a belt, and she's going to sit here and say they did it. I love my husband so much. But I feel that because a man has beat me and abused me my whole life, that's all I know, and that's why I take the anger out on my husband, because I'm getting back at a man.
Can I ask you a question? Yes. What does that have to do with adultery?
I don't know.
While I was deployed, under deployment, I have to call home to tell my wife that a serious incident happened, and I get interrupted to be told that my spouse is committing adultery, and hang the phone up. And then I lose my temper after I get off the phone and get punished by the military because I have to call home and say
Dr. Phil,
a serious
where's the
incident
relation
happened.
between physical abuse with a belt for her when she was a child to leading it all the way to adultery? Where is the connection?
When it comes, I'm sorry, I know you just asked me a question, but when it comes to adultery, the only thing that I can think and figure out is I was tired of being alone. I thought marrying him and being in the military was going to be great, and it wasn't. He was gone all the time.
1 hour before I left my home in Germany, I was stationed in Germany for 4 years, for the deployment that I volunteered for. My wife looked me in my eyes in the middle of an argument and told me she wishes I died so she could collect my insurance check.
So she'd never have to deal with him again.
And this is 1 hour, Dr. Phil, before I left to board a bus to fly to Baghdad. 1 hour.
Apparently it is the child you raised. And that's the whole point. Look, we talk about the younger generation as though we have nothing to do with it. You've got to understand, what you reap, you sow. I mean, come on. You can't tell me you don't get the connection. We're going to take a break, and then I'm going to say a hell of a lot. Sarah's husband, mother-in-law, and even her own parents say she's been abusive and neglectful to their 2-year-old daughter. Now, what Sarah says about those very serious allegations when we come back.
I believe my anger has affected our kids.
I have witnessed Sarah striking my granddaughter with a belt.
I don't feel like I've abused my children.
When I sit there and think that I have a physically abusive wife, it almost makes me feel less of a man, because no man that I know puts up with a woman putting their hands on them. They'll either put their hands back on them or they divorce them, and I've yet to do anything because there's just something about it to make me want to stay. It really is hard for me to put it into words. It's heartbreaking.
Well, Sarah's family members say they're concerned for the well-being of her children, especially her 2-year-old daughter, and there's a 6.5-month-old baby as well. This hits particularly close to home for me because I have grandchildren that age, and I realize how vulnerable they are, how easy it is for them to be hurt by someone that would put their own agenda, their own emotions, their own feelings ahead of the welfare of their child. Now, Sarah says she doesn't want to abuse her children, but she says she cannot control her temper. Take a look.
Our children are my world. I don't know what I would do without them.
Sarah and I fight in front of the kids.
The kids have been exposed to everything, yelling, screaming, fighting. I believe my anger has affected our kids.
Those poor kids, they hear everything.
Sarah yells at him almost every day over stupid stuff, not picking up toys.
I lose my temper when I end up yelling at her.
I'm sick and tired of this. I'm gonna beat the hell out of her. I'm gonna knock the teeth out of your mouth. Just things you don't say to a 2-year-old.
She'll say, Sky, I'm going to take my belt off.
I have witnessed Sarah striking my granddaughter with a belt.
I do pop her on her butt or her bare leg enough to get their attention.
She'll just give her that whip, and that crack noise is what petrifies my daughter. If I step up for my children and defend them, then my wife will divert her anger from the children to me.
I have to stand back and watch because I'm not the parent. The laws will not allow me to protect them from their mother, and that kills me.
I don't feel like I've abused my children.
What was that last thing you said there?
The question I wanted to ask was, how can you sit there and say that that's not how I was raised when you have a problem as well and you don't want to admit it, you don't want to get help. You have been verbally and mentally abused for as long as I can remember by your husband, and you won't get help. So yes, I've learned from experience. Except this situation, it's a woman towards a man instead of a man towards a woman.
Stop, stop, stop. You have a problem with anger and your children are at risk. Children and having access to children is not a biological right. It is a privilege that you earn and you maintain by good choices and reasonable conduct.
And I want help.
Okay?
I want to know what I have to do.
That's not something that just because you share DNA, you have the right to those children. Let me assure you, you do not. That's not how it works. That's just not how it works. You say you admit that you hit your daughter with a belt that makes a whip noise that petrifies your daughter. You scream at her for no reason sometimes, right? It's just frustration. You scream at her for no reason. You scare the kids when y'all fight in front of them in the car. You deny that you leave them alone for hours to get away, but others say that you do. I don't want to hear it right now. You says, if you back talk to me, I'm going to knock your teeth out of your mouth and slap you across your jaw. Have you said that to your child?
I never said I'd knock her teeth out, but I did say I would slap her.
Do you have any understanding about how children reason and what level of understanding they have? Because let me tell you what it looks like to them. You are supposed to love me and protect me and nurture me, which you do sometimes. And then all of a sudden you attack me and inflict pain on me? What is a child supposed to say to themselves about that? You obviously have a very low frustration tolerance. Would you agree? Yes. And you attribute this to the upbringing that your mother wants to deny a majority of.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. I'm going to tell you exactly how all this links up. I'm going to tell you exactly what your role needs to be, your role needs to be, your role needs to be, and your role needs to be. I'm going to put verbs in my sentences. This is going to get real clear real quick. We'll be right back. Well, I'm here with Sarah and her family who are afraid that if she doesn't get her anger issues under control, something horrible will happen to her children. Now, you've been incarcerated twice, once for 5 days, once for a few hours. You've been assigned to a 12-week anger management course.
How many of those did you miss and your counselor
Several.
just wrote off on them? So you didn't even have to go to them. You didn't even go because you didn't feel like it, you were tired, you were whatever,
No,
and
a
your
lot of
counselor
times
wrote
it
off
would
on
be
them.
we forgot or we had stuff going on and we couldn't make it back.
Come
But
on.
I did
don't want to
go
hear
to
it.
some of
I
them.
don't want to hear it. Don't come here and tell me you want help and then defend missing half your anger management courses.
It's a waste.
Look, there's a legacy here, okay? It is true. Children learn what they live. If you think for 1 second that you did not write on the slate of who this girl is with what she grew up in and around, then you're just missing something, right? Your husband went to jail for abusing her?
He went to jail for spanking her.
Do you believe you have any responsibility, accountability for the way she is today?
Partly. Because, I mean, yeah, there's times when I would get mad about things, but I wouldn't take it out on my kids.
Children are products of their upbringing. If they grow up in turmoil, chaos, they watch abuse, whether it's directed at them or just around them, that changes who they are. It's like when you burn yourself really bad, it leaves a scar for the rest of your life. That's what happens when a child grows up in a chaotic, tumultuous environment.
I'm not going to deny my husband and I have had problems in the past.
I'm not interested in taking y'all's inventory. I just want to know if you acknowledge the fact that she did not grow up in a harmonious environment in which she was nurtured and taught to feel good about herself and have a series of success experiences on the family front.
Yes, she did. This child, up until she turned 12 or 13, when she hit puberty, I couldn't have asked for a sweeter child. We had no problems out of her whatsoever. When she hit puberty, the hormones, everything kicked in, we thought that's what the problem was, the hormones kicking in, and her body was changing. And
okay, well then let's talk about what happened after 13. Her father went to jail over her. Come on, are you kidding me? You say I don't get that there was...
Yes, I agree. I agree that got out of control. I do agree.
Lady, you are part of the problem. I want you to become part of the solution. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to help. But don't tell me, I brought her in here for you to fix her. Why are you talking to me? I'm talking to you because you are part of her legacy.
Dr. Bill, I have been over backwards for the last 6 or 7 years trying to help her, and she won't let me.
I want to give you some new tools.
I'll take any help I can get.
I'd like to get to it. When her father went to jail, who did you side with?
At the time, I was in the middle. I was torn. I was wanting to I loved my husband, but I loved my daughter.
But you picked a man over your child. You picked a man over your own flesh and blood.
Did I not sit down and try to talk with you about everything?
This is about between me and you and our children, Sarah.
Yeah.
And you're getting help. We need the bickering to stop, please.
We're going to take a break. Quinn says, look, he's had it. He's ready to leave Sarah. But there's one thing that's holding him back, and we're going to tell you what that is when we come back.
If I don't get away from Sarah, I feel like I'm going to end up losing my mind and going crazy because I feel like I've done everything I can do.
Okay, in most cases of domestic violence, it is the man who's the aggressor. Today we're talking about what happens when a woman is abusing a man. Now, it doesn't happen as often, but it is a significant problem in America. And what you see a lot of time is legislation where we're funding violence against women, when we're talking about shelters for women, we're talking about all these resources for women, and men are just left standing there. They're put on the side. They don't get the benefit of legislative empowerment. They don't get the benefit of funding. They don't have resources and places to go. So much so that Quinn elected to go to a second tour of duty in a war zone because it was more peaceful than what he had at home. That was his resource. We need to change that. Quinn says his wife Sarah has abused him for years, but he's ready to put a stop to it by walking away from her for good, if that's what it takes. Take a look.
I've had more than enough with Sarah. I feel like divorce is the only solution.
I personally don't think he wants a divorce. He's just tired of being hurt.
I feel as if I am always on my tippy toes. I feel as if I do the smallest little thing wrong, she's going to get volatile again. Sarah's told me she wanted me back 1,000,001 times, and enough's enough. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with it anymore.
I don't want a divorce because I love him. I want to be with him the rest of my life.
If I don't get away from Sarah, I feel like I'm going to end up losing my mind, going crazy, because I feel like I've done everything I can do.
Sarah and Quinn are here. They've been married for 5 years, 2 children, 2.5, 6.5 months. Sarah is abusive mentally, emotionally, and verbally to her husband and really anybody else that gets in her way. The mothers are here, Renee and Tracy. I'm going to talk about you like you're not here for a minute. Okay? And you're going to think that I'm making excuses for her, but I'm not. I want you to understand some things because it has to do with what you can contribute to solving this situation. You can divorce her. You certainly can, but her children can't.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that means you need to hope to find a way to fix this situation because your children are going to grow up in her shadow and exposed to who and what she is unless she crosses the line to the point that you terminate her parental rights. And then they grow up without a mother. So there aren't a lot of good options here short of fixing this. Okay? What you need to understand, Mom, is that there is a legacy that is passed from generation to generation. Good things and bad things. What we want to do is keep the good things. What she's saying is that you have modeled for her behavior that she finds offensive, that she has experienced her father in a way that was painful to her. I don't mean to demonize him. Don't know the man. Nobody's perfect. I'm sure he has flaws and fallacies like everybody else. I'm sure he has good qualities like everybody else. But for her, this was a source of pain. Would you agree with that?
Probably. I mean, I can't say, I don't know. I just,
Would you say that that's what she reports?
that's what she reports.
Okay.
That, yeah.
So, and look, perception is reality. If that's how she perceives it, then for her, however demented or distorted that may be, and it may be, that is her reality at this point. Okay, so it puzzles me that you would look at her and say, gee, I can't imagine why she would be emotionally up and down. You say, how does this lead to adultery? Because this is a woman that hates herself. She hates everything she stands for. She hates what she does. She hates who she is. And so she goes on self-destruct. With people that are abusive, there is a powerful sense of entitlement. I am entitled. I want immediate gratification. Give me what I want when I want it, and I want it now. And that is exactly who she is, and that's exactly why her frustration tolerance is about like that. When the children that are 2 don't act like they're 15, she doesn't get it and has no patience for that. When he is gone and she is frustrated, she wants immediate gratification. Go find some loser up here and have an affair. Immediate gratification. And she justifies it because to her, men are a source of pain, so screw you. And by God, when you get back, I will beat on you just to vent, because she builds up anxiety to the point that she is going to explode. And if she can beat on you, yell at you, throw things at you, then that vents and lets the anxiety deplete for a minute, and then she's like, oh my God.
Tomorrow morning. Until tomorrow
Exactly,
morning.
and then it starts building right back up. So that's how all of this ties together. When you see anger on the outside, yelling, screaming, throwing, fighting, cussing, hitting, all of that, if you just peel that layer off, what you see behind it is a lot of pain.
Yes.
And under that is a good person.
So when you look at all of that, when you see all the anger, you know she's experiencing a tremendous amount of pain. Now, if she's beating on her daughter, does that matter that it comes from pain? Well, it just comes from pain, baby. No. That doesn't make it okay. It has to stop. It has to change. So that's what I want you to understand. I'm going to tell you what you need to understand after the break. Talking about domestic violence today as part of our ongoing series In the Silence on Domestic Violence. But this is a two-way street. It is not always the woman who is the victim. At times, the man is the one that is getting hurt, abused, demeaned, everything you can imagine. And that's what we're dealing with today. The difference is men don't have much in the way of resources. Partner violence is often mutual, in fact. And there are injuries that can happen in these situations by accident. It doesn't even have to be on purpose. It doesn't even have to be what you intend. Now, let me tell you something. Children that are the subject of abuse, neglect, bad modeling, bad environment, bad exposure, whatever, have zero accountability for that because you're a child. You are a victim in that sense, and I am sorry if you grew up with even a part of your life being painful. I'm sorry that you grew up with that. You have zero accountability. But you know what you do have accountability for? What you do about it now, because you are an adult, and adults have the choice to choose, and you have to choose. And the first thing you have to choose is to stop all your defensiveness, stop all of your blaming of your past, stop all of your justifying it by what he does or doesn't do or what the children do or don't do. You need to be big enough to acknowledge that you are broken.
I am.
That you are broken. And you need to stop blaming your mother and father because you want to vent at them. And you need to stop blaming your husband because you want to vent at him. And you want to stop taking it out on your children because they're not big enough to fight back. There comes a time when you got to rise above your raising. You got to choose to be different. You got to choose to be a different person. And you can make choices about this.
Well, like I've told Renee, I don't want to be a bad mom. I want to be better for my kids than what was done for me. I don't want them to have the life I had.
If you want to be a better mother, you have to become a better person. And to become a better person, you have to heal what is broken in you. And you can't do that if you keep fighting against the people in your life that love you and want the best for you. But what you have to do is understand that there are skills you can learn, physiological skills, cognitive skills, behavioral skills that can cause you to be able to manage this because you recognize it early on. And I will get you the help doing that, but it doesn't do any good if you have an attitude about it where you say, oh, it's their fault, they did this to me, I'm a victim. And you need to understand something. If I set these things up for you through our advisory board here and our resource directors here, which we do for all of our guests, then I will bring you the people that, in my opinion, are the best of the best. And what you need to understand is if they set up an appointment for you, then you better show up.
Amen.
I want to.
Because you tell me to do all of that and I put it in place for you, and then you don't go, I will fire you and you will be right back where you were. You do not take my help and resources and then blow them off with some arrogant, childish behavior. You make an appointment with these professionals, you show up on time, leaning forward, and do what you need to do.
Amen.
Okay? Now, let me close by saying this. Let me close by saying this. It is premature for you to divorce her at this point. You need to give her and all of my team a chance to find out who this woman really is. It is premature to do that. It's premature for you. It's premature for your children. Your job between now and that time is to protect your children. You do not one time for 1 minute under any circumstances leave those children unsupervised with her. Do not do it unless and until the professionals that are going to become involved say she is safe to be around those children. Don't you do it one time. If you do, that's negligence on your part, and I'm putting you on notice to do that.
I want to remove myself from her. Whether she gets the help or not, there's nothing that's going to take away the mental scars that I have and the physical scars on my body.
It's going to take you longer to do what you're saying you want to do than it's going to take us to turn her in a significant way. Just cool your jets. Your feelings may change, and your children deserve the right for their parents to make every effort to try to work this out in an amicable way. You got the rest of your life to get a divorce. Give me 45 days to make a change.
I've got until February 2nd.
You can't get divorced sooner than that anyway.
No. February 2nd is my date.
All right, so
February 2nd.
So we got a deal. We'll be right back. Well, I want to thank all of my guests today. If you are a male victim of domestic violence and you need help or advice, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Now, help is available to callers 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You don't have to give your name. They're not going to pressure you to do something you don't want to do. But the worst thing you can do if you're in a situation being abused is to isolate yourself. Talk to someone that knows what's going on and can tell you what options are. And for more information, you can go to their website at thehotline.org. Now, if you want to help end the silence on domestic violence, then you can join our campaign here and become a silence breaker. You can go to drphil.com right now and click on Take Dr. Phil's Pledge to end the silence on domestic violence, and then click on Submit Your Pledge. Now, we do collect money if you want to give it, and all of this goes to supporting shelters and those things in different communities that we need to help men, women, and children who have to get out of unsafe environments. Interestingly enough, as radical as this situation is, it's one of those things that can change in a fairly rapid way because there are so many skills, Sarah, that you don't have. And when you learn them and can use them, physiologically, mentally, and emotionally, you can bring about huge change. Thanks for being here. So long.
Today on Dr. Phil.
My daughter just stabbed me in the chest.
What could possess a child
I was afraid for my life.
You had the knife, but you were afraid for your life.
to stab her mother in the heart?
Alyssa says that you punched her in the face.
False. Your lying doesn't help anybody. She digs her nails into her neck. I had marks. This is Attack Mommy show. I'm getting that now.
I hear her confronting you with the truth. That's what I hear. Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, three, take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. I want to start by having you take a look at some disturbing photographs. It's a picture taken in the hospital of our first guest, Becca. Now look closely and you're going to see the wound from being stabbed in the chest just inches from her heart. The knife was 6 inches long. It's said to have gone in most of the way. Now, the person who committed this shocking crime fought with Becca in her house, grabbed a kitchen knife, and then stabbed her with it. The attacker was her daughter. Her daughter, Ariel. Listen to the chilling 911 call.
911, where's the emergency? My daughter just stabbed me in the chest. I can hear my lungs when I breathe. Where is she at right now? She ran off naked.
All right, stay on the line with me, okay?
Ow. It hurts. Ow.
Ma'am, they'll be there any minute, okay? Just stay with me.
Wilma, are you still on line?
911, did they disconnect?
Yeah, I don't hear anything at all.
Well, let's go back to that night. It was just November of 2010 when Becca was stabbed. Take a look at what happened.
My oldest daughter, Ariel, stabbed me last year.
My mother was very mad because I did go out that night. She's yelling at me, and I'm trying to get out of the house, and she rips my shirt off. So I grabbed a knife to defend myself, and she tackled me to the ground. She grabbed me by my throat and pinned me to the wall, and my first instinct was to stab her. I stabbed her in her left lung.
The blade was about 6 inches long, and it sunk almost all the way in. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Could not believe she stabbed me.
Well, that's difficult to watch, right?
Very.
How do you feel about that now?
I'm very angry still about it. I hadn't heard the 911 tape before. I didn't really remember calling 911.
Mm-hmm. But you did, and at that point, you could hear air escaping through the wound, right? So you knew your lung was punctured. You knew that you were in trouble.
Yes,
Did you believe you were going to die
I did.
at that point?
I did believe.
I want to get to what happened the night you got stabbed. In fact, we have a police report here. How did this happen? You weren't just standing there and she came up and stabbed you. You were in an altercation, right?
We were in an
You were trying to
altercation.
keep her from leaving.
Trying to keep her from leaving the house.
Next, what happened?
She had a pajama top on. I ripped the top off, and I told her she is not leaving the house without a top on. And she took her pajama bottoms off and said, I'll leave the house naked if I want to.
She first grabbed scissors, right?
Grabbed a pair of
Then
scissors.
she grabbed one knife.
Grabbed one knife.
You knocked that out of her hand. Then she grabs another knife?
She grabs yet another knife.
Okay.
And she knocked my cell phone out of my hand. And when I ran to get the cell phone, she had gotten the knife and she ran to the front door. And I was trying to get the cell phone because I had her dad on speakerphone trying to talk some sense into her. When she ran to the front door, she was completely naked, had a knife in her hand, and there was no way in hell I was going to let her run out of the house in a neighborhood with a knife, naked. And so the only thing I could grab on her naked body was her hair. And so I grabbed her hair and pulled her, and she turned around and popped me
Okay,
in the chest.
and this is what I'm wanting to understand. And look, there's no justification for you being stabbed. Okay, I'm not blaming the victim here. I'm trying to analyze the situation because it is a mirror to a lot of what happens in this family, right? Okay, I'm talking about your judgment here. You have a daughter that has gone off the rails at this point. There's yelling, screaming, gnashing of teeth, right?
Right.
She's now gotten stripped down naked, holding a butcher knife, and so you charge her.
I did.
Okay, as you hear that characterized by me, how does that sound to you?
Sounds like the stupidest thing anybody could do.
And in the police report, they show up, said there was a juvenile standing inside without any clothes on. Said they asked the juvenile if she stabbed her mom. She told me yes. I observed a female lying on the floor in front of the kitchen. She was bleeding from the chest area, unresponsive. 6-inch kitchen knife was located on the front porch. It had reddish brown stain on it. So, I mean, this is how it reads, but the only thing missing from here that would normally be there is woman on kitchen floor expired. We also have a video of your husband, the father of these children, getting physical as well, restraining one of your other daughters.
Yes.
Okay, I want to take a look at that right now to see what's going on there.
Abby, no. What are you going to do if you get up? Huh?
Quit. Quit.
Abby, all you have to do is sit down.
No.
Why?
Because if I sit down, I'm not going to see Katie out. Will you stop it? You're insane. Stop.
You're not getting up. You're not getting up. You're not leaving the house. And you're not going to South Dakota to see Katie.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
That's enough. Becca's ex-husband, the father of these children, Jody, is joining us now via Polycom. Jody, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I want both of you to understand, I believe this is a family in crisis. I believe you have let this thing unfold to the point that I think lives are in danger here. I think lives are in danger here. I think somebody is going to get seriously injured or dead in this situation if something doesn't happen to change this.
We're just not sure how to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, well, you're asking way late in the game. Okay, this ship has sailed. The time that these girls needed a different direction, a different environment, a different management plan was when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you see teenagers this out of control, it didn't just happen now. This is a product of their upbringing. And when I look at this and you're charging your daughter naked with a butcher knife and you get stabbed, you've got one of your daughters, Jody, on the couch restraining her, which is just building frustration through the roof. I see huge red flags all over the place here. What I'm concerned about is, can we do something to change the dynamic in this family? And I believe we can. There is a flicker of hope here, but it is very late in the game. Ariel is not the only one that has Becca so afraid. As I said, she says that when her twin daughters are angry, she sees pure evil in their eyes.
The twins never obey the rules. They're awful kids. I see evil in Abby and Alyssa's eyes when they're angry, when they're upset. Their eyes darken. I'll hear little noises in the middle of the night, and I think one of them's coming in to kill me. Alyssa rolled her eyes, and I said, if you do, just make it quick. That's all I ask. Just don't make me suffer like Ariel. Alyssa sneaks out in the middle of the night. Abby's stolen probably close to $100 total out of my purse. We've had to put locks on our bedroom doors. I pulled Abby and Alyssa out of school to homeschool them because Alyssa was having sex and smoking pot. Abby was skipping classes and failing. We can't trust them to go anywhere. One morning, I noticed that Alyssa wasn't in her room, and so I opened the closet door. She was laying in there. Some boy was in there naked. He had snuck in the middle of the night and had sex with my child. We have tried the grounding, the taking things away. Nothing is working. My kids don't care if I live or die.
Now, the twins have a completely different point of view. They say their mother is the one who is completely out of control. Let's hear from them.
Me and Alyssa are both locked down. We are unable to do anything.
Lockdown, in my parents' terms, is no window shuts, no phone, no computer. I have to share a bed with my mom. She locks the doors. I sleep with the keys under her pillow.
My mother tries to control me by taking everything away from me, by yelling or hitting.
My mom held me against the fridge and dug her nails into my neck. She called me a dyke, lesbian, whore, and slut.
My mother hit me over the head with a screwdriver. I couldn't take it anymore, so we just snuck out and ran off.
Only contact we have with people is our family.
They think it'll straighten me up. It just makes me even angrier and more defiant.
My mom found out about me having sex at school. There was a condom in my bag and they found it. 2 weeks ago, she started homeschooling me. I think she's gone way too far.
Okay, that's their characterization of you. What do you think?
I did not hit that child over her head with a screwdriver.
Okay, well, here's what they've said. Alyssa says that you've punched her in the face.
False.
Ariel says that when she was 12, you grabbed her by the throat and by the hair. True or false on grabbing her at 12?
Grabbing her at 12, probably her hair, not her neck.
How old is Ariel?
Ariel is almost 17.
Okay, and she's been engaged, right?
Yes.
And you let her fiance move into the house.
I did. That was not my choice. I never wanted him to. That was her father.
Jody, is that true? You let this fiance move into the house with your underage daughter?
Yes, sir.
What,
Yes, sir.
what was your reasoning? What was your reasoning about that?
Dr. Phil, I felt really guilty. I've moved these girls around a lot. She'd been seeing him for a considerable amount of time, and that's no excuse, but I wanted to help him get a decent job so he could take care of her later in life.
So they had been together since she was how old?
Since 3 months before she stabbed me. So she was not even 16 yet.
Okay. So at 16, she's engaged.
Yes.
Okay.
I do not like it.
See, here's the thing, guys. I think you've lived with this so long that you're numb and desensitized to it. No matter how guilty you feel, Jody, parenting from guilt just leads to more and more problems. So that's one thing I want you to take away today. Are you an alcoholic?
No.
You're not an alcoholic?
No.
Because your daughters say you have a drinking problem.
I drink a couple glasses of wine a night, but I am not an alcoholic.
Okay, and you said that one of your girls had stolen alcohol from you.
Right, that was hidden.
Okay, and you referred to it as your stash.
Well, I had a little stash that, oh my gosh, that I keep hidden in the corner of a closet that I never got into, rarely.
Well, you have to understand, somebody that deals with a lot of addiction, when I hear somebody saying that they hide and stash their alcohol.
From the children, so the kids don't get into it.
Yeah, okay.
I do drink. I will admit that I drink. That started after the twins had me arrested, which that was later.
So this is just something that you've started recently? All right. Is your daughter, Alyssa, is she bisexual?
Yes.
Okay. And she's how old?
15.
Uh-huh. And have you called her all these disparaging names? She says you've called her a whore and a slut and a dyke.
Called her a whore and a slut.
Did you pour a soda on Alyssa's head?
Yes, I did.
And your theory in that? Tell me the outcome you're seeking when you do that.
It was humiliation. At the time, in my thinking, it was either punch her teeth out or pour a soda on her head.
Well, given those choices, I would vote for the soda. But fortunately, those aren't the only choices. But that's what I mean. I think y'all are in this so deep that it seems like it's almost doesn't even seem out of the ordinary for you. Okay, tell me about forcing them to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol.
When I found that they had stolen alcohol, which I found that they had that and some cigarettes, and I made them go out into the garage and smoke a cigarette, inhaling, and take a swig of alcohol. When I found, because I've heard of other parents doing that, and I've heard of my friends saying that when their parents did that to them when they were young, they never wanted to touch the stuff again.
So that would be known as aversion therapy, or immersion therapy is another word for it, where you just give them so much of it, it makes them sick. Okay, so that was your theory, right? Because you've heard some people. So instead, you just said, go out in the garage, have a drink and a cigarette, and that'll teach you, by God.
I sat out there with them. I didn't know what to do.
Do you recognize that you're making some really bad decisions?
Yes, I
Some really dysfunctional decisions? And they're not working, correct?
Correct.
Look, when teenagers act out, girls go to wild fashion, promiscuity, bad language, and then ultimately become combative themselves. And that's happening here with these girls. It's all happening. They're acting out against something. What? I want to hear from them. When we come back, we're going to meet Becca's daughters. Now, I'm going to ask you to sit in the audience when we come back right down here in just a minute, because I want to talk to them alone. I want them to stand on their own here, and I want to hear what they have to say. Then we'll have an all-skate. We'll be right back. Well, Mom Becca was stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife by her daughter, barely missing her heart. Serious life-threatening wound. Now, you'd think her daughter would be sorry, but she's really not. Take a look.
When I had stabbed my mom, I got over it by not talking to her at all about it.
After 2 days in juvie, Ariel did come to the hospital. She just kind of sat there and watched the doctors take care of me, and nurses come in, and she just didn't have anything to say to me.
I just kind of shut it out and acted like it didn't happen.
Every time it's brought up, she said I was sorry, but I've never heard her say, I'm so very sorry for doing this to you.
My mom still isn't over it.
When I get attitude from Ariel, it feels like I'm getting stabbed all over again.
Now, Abby, Alyssa, and her sister Ariel are here. Your mother's right down here. Your family seems to be a real mess right now. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes, of course.
Now, let me ask you something. You stabbed your mother in the chest with a butcher knife.
Yes.
Are you sorry about it?
I am.
Tell me how you feel about it.
Well, when it first happened, I didn't care. Now, I'm very remorseful for it.
Why did you stab your mother?
I was afraid for my life.
Okay, you said it was self-defense.
Yes.
You felt like you were defending your life.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she had a weapon?
She did not.
She didn't have a gun or a knife? How were you afraid for your life? You had the knife, she had nothing, but you were afraid for your life.
There have been many times when she has physically abused me. One point, Alyssa was there. She had held me by my throat and pinned me to the couch. There are many times when she has attacked me, and I was afraid that it would happen again.
When she has choked you before, has it been to the point that you thought, she could choke me out here? I mean, this could be it?
Yes.
Is that true or not?
Absolutely false.
Okay, now let me stop you guys here before we go one step further. We've got to tell the truth here. And there aren't versions of the truth. You have either choked her out or you haven't. One of you is lying. And I want you to be honest. And if the truth is somewhere in the middle, then explain that. But don't tell me two versions of what can only be one story.
I would like to say she has told people many times that I've choked her. She even told the detective when she stabbed me that I had choked her. And he asked me about that, and I said, of course I didn't. And he said, I didn't think so. There were no marks on her neck. And oftentimes I do lift up their chin and make them look at me, but it's not to the point where I'm grabbing their necks or anything like that. I put my fingers under their chin and lift their heads up to make them look at me. Wrong or not, that's, fine, but I do not choke you.
Okay, what do you want to say, Abby?
Whenever she lifts her heads up, she digs her nails into our neck to make us look. Because if we push down, it'll just get worse. She digs her nails into our neck. I had marks on my
Do you
neck.
consider it violent when she does this?
Yes, I do.
I mean, it's aggressive. It's violent and aggressive. Is that, are they lying about that, or is that their perception? Is that their possible perception?
I think it's their perception, because when I try to lift their heads up and they're pushing their heads down, my nails are going to get dug in there.
Okay, well, let me just say, we got to start clicking some things off here. That is dead wrong. Okay. You don't put your hands on these children in anger. You don't, look at me, that's not going to work. You should not be subjected to that. That's wrong on her part. You need to not do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to do other things instead. We'll be right back. Now, this isn't all about your parents. Are you two out of control?
I don't go out and do drugs. I have many plans for my future. I try to straighten up. I try to do good in school, but it's hard to whenever I'm being homeschooled.
Do you have any respect for your parents at all?
At the moment, no.
Do you have any respect for their right to lead the family, to their position of authority?
No, because look at us, look at where we are now. I mean, we're not good, and if they're leading our family, then they're not doing a good job. I mean,
Becca gave us a mountain of evidence to prove that twins Abby and Alyssa are in fact out of control. Have you been sexting online?
not for quite a while, not for about 6 months, but I have been on my phone.
You're sexting online, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're doing so, one of the people you're doing so with is someone that goes by the screen name of Katie. Have you met her?
No, I haven't met her in person, but we've known each other for almost 2 years now.
How do you know it's her?
Because I've seen countless pictures of her.
Well, but how do you know they're pictures of her?
Because each picture, she'll send me a picture of her at work, and then she'll send me one of her in the morning. I don't see how a pedophile can get hundreds of pictures of the same girl just like that.
Oh, wow. Trust me, they can have catalogs of pictures. You have no idea how far these people will go. You ran away yesterday or last?
What? It was about a week ago.
A week ago?
I ran away again.
Where'd you go?
I went to my girlfriend's house.
Do y'all have friends that have peaceful families?
Yes.
What do you think about that compared to your house?
I'm not used to a functioning family, and when I walk into people's houses and their family is getting along, I feel like there's something wrong with that. It makes me feel a lot worse about my situation.
Can I say something, Dr.
Yeah,
Phil?
please.
I am pretty much a gourmet cook. I cook home-cooked meals every night for these children, every single night. When they do have friends over to the house, their friends want to move in and stay with us because we do have a good home life.
Okay, now I have something to say.
Okay.
It's because you're two-faced. To everybody else, you are a saint. But as soon as you're alone and you get that wine, you are somebody completely different. You aren't this person that our friends see. You're manipulative and extremely verbally and physically abusive to all of us.
Well, we have to take a break. Mom says she's a gourmet cook, but it's going to take a lot more than meatloaf and mashed potatoes to fix this problem. We'll be right back.
My mom is manipulative, very two-faced, and
extremely controlling. She cares about us when she's in one of those kinds of moods. She is a saint, and then she is a completely different person. I feel that my mom craves attention, and that's all she wants.
Well, I'm here with Ariel, who admits that she stabbed her mother in the chest. She says she did it in self-defense and fear for her life. Abby, who says that she has been sexting since the age of 13 and has an ongoing relationship with someone her parents fear might be a pedophile, but she thinks is just a young girl that is a friend. And Alyssa, who says that she is bisexual and that her mother calls her demeaning names. Mother Becca is here. Jody, the biological father, is on the phone. This family is in crisis. Do you think this situation can improve?
No, I honestly don't.
You really don't?
No one's going to change in our family. We are stubborn. We're not going to change. It might go back to good just for a little bit, but things will always get worse.
What have y'all ever done as a family to try to make things better?
We started family therapy several months ago, and that didn't work out because everybody wanted it to be my problem.
You are extremely demeaning. If we don't say something that pleases you, which is impossible to do anyways, then we are the worst kids in the world. You shouldn't have had us. The twins were mistakes. You wish we would have killed you.
You are twisting my words around. The
No,
twins
these are exact
No, you
quotes.
twist our words around.
Okay.
The other night,
Okay, this is Attack Mommy show. Okay, I'm getting that now. I'm getting this.
How do you think we feel whenever we try to tell you
That look
something
on your
you told
face
us?
scares me to death.
Why? Because it's your face?
You know, we're here to try to get help. You know, we know we're not coping with everything well. We're not doing the right things. And we're looking for answers on that as well. But you guys have to work with us on that as well.
Things were better until she started drinking. That's when our tight little family fell apart. When she started drinking and when you got arrested for possession and DUI, and then said that someone had beat you up so that you could hide the bruises after you fell off the porch drunk.
Is that true?
True.
We'll be right back. Okay, you know, I asked you before, and I just decided to wait until they were out here to ask you again if you have a drinking problem.
Didn't think I did. I stopped drinking for a very long time, but here in the recent months, I started drinking again.
You told me earlier, you
didn't
said
think-
you have maybe a glass of wine or two.
I have two glasses of wine a night.
Well, 2 glasses of wine don't have you getting busted for DUI and falling off the porch drunk. Come on.
This was different circumstances. I went to the dentist that morning and had a tooth pulled, and they put me on painkillers, and I had 2 glasses of wine, and decided after 2 painkillers and 2 glasses of wine that it was a good idea to get in the car and drive. And I was busted for the DUI, and I have paid the consequences for that, and I have never driven drunk again.
You told Abby that someone was trying to kidnap you and that they had pushed you on the ground and stomped on your stomach, and Abby cried her eyes out because she thought that's what actually happened.
Your lying doesn't help anybody. You see what you're doing to the twins. Did you see this? Look at her.
You need to quit yelling at me. For real.
That's pretty funny coming from you.
Stop it right now, Ariel. Knock it off.
Knock what off?
This attitude.
Well, I hear her confronting you with the truth. That's what I hear. If you have a drinking problem, say so. I can help you with that. I'm concerned about this stash term.
But it really, really, it was hard. I never drink hard liquor, and it was a little stash I kept hidden. But
Becca, for God's sakes, woman.
I don't drink hard liquor.
Hear me. If you've got 3 girls that you think are out of control and can abuse alcohol, then don't have it in the home. Okay. You say, I never drink it.
I did pour it out. I poured every drop of it. I poured out $500 worth of liquor.
The fact that you're using liquor and stabbing in the same sentence and we're talking about your family should tell you that this is not going well. Are you an alcoholic, or are you just playing the victim here because these girls are
I'm an alcoholic.
Are you drinking on a regular basis?
Yes.
Is it changing your personality?
Yes.
Do you need help with it?
Yes.
If I offer it to you, will you take it?
Yes.
Because it can give you the opportunity. It can give you the opportunity to come to these girls clear-eyed and say, look, we've not done this right. Here's my point. I don't want you to be hurting. I don't want you to feel like that you're being judged for your sexuality and having to run away.
Because I'm bi. That would ruining her life for us being bi. And a few days ago, well, more like a week or so ago, she said that I could not drive until I started dating men.
Because they say they're bisexual, and I said I could handle gay or straight. I don't know which team to root for. It's very confusing.
I understand that that's confusing to you. This can get better. You are quite wrong. This can get better. Because you can get better, can't you?
I don't know.
You can get better. You can choose. Look, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. So if you start choosing different things, you get different results. You make different choices. You can behave your way right out of this mess. We'll be right back.
I love my mom very much, and I understand where she's coming from, that she does all these things because she loves me. We might hate her at some points, but we wouldn't kill her. I've never had thoughts like that.
Well, that's 15-year-old Abby and her twin sister Alyssa talking about how they've never let violence at home go too far. They say that's not in their minds. Do you realize that your mother could have died that night?
Yes, I do. Yes, I understand.
She could have died, and you might well have spent a huge portion, if not the rest of your life, in prison.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you get that, right? And so that means this situation has to dramatically change. And I talked to your mother about the fact that when things get that tense, you've got to de-escalate the situation, not escalate it. And she said you were going to leave the house naked. Well, I'd rather you leave the house naked than spend the rest of your life in prison.
Well,
right?
it was leave the house and not have any fighting, or her rip my clothes off and me leave the house naked.
Yeah, and I get it. And look, you have to understand that you have to own your part of this. You have to own your part of this. That's what I'm telling you. You guys have to say, look, I'm old enough that I need to look at my own behavior, my own choices, and start behaving differently. Now, you say, Dr. Phil, that's real good. Get her out of our face. Give us a chance to make some different choices, right? I get that. I'm getting to her. She's already said she feels picked on the whole show here. So we spent a lot of focus on her. But I'm saying you guys have to understand that you have the right to choose. And when you choose everything that comes with that choice. I've told this before. My father has passed away. And we would get in these arguments. And there would be a lot of face-to-face and yelling and screaming because I wouldn't back down and he wouldn't back down. And he was about my size. It was like two bulls. And one day, I made what I call a life decision. A life decision. One day I said, I am through arguing with my father. I'm not going to do it anymore. I refuse to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't care what he does. I am not going to do it. Life decision. I had the right to not react. And so I did that. And the bait would be out there, and I just wouldn't take it. The bait would be out, I just wouldn't take it. And after about 3 weeks, I was in my office, and he came and stuck his head in the door. He leaned and said, "You're not going to fight with me anymore, are you?" And I said, no, I'm not. He said, "Okay." And it never happened again. He died not too long after that, and I can't tell you how glad I was that I chose peace in my relationship with him in that period of time. So nobody's immune. And I made the choice. I said, I'm better than that. I'm just not going to do it. And you can make that same choice. And you can make that choice. You, as the adult, have to de-escalate. And if you're at a point now that, as you said, that you do have a drinking problem, that it's changing your personality, it's making you different with them. And Lord knows they give you enough stimulus to want to drink. I get that. But as the adult, you have to rise above that. You need to set an example and take care of yourself. And if you are confused about sexuality here, then instead of judging it, arguing about it, threatening about it, and punishing it, why don't you educate yourself about it? Why don't you become enlightened about it? Why don't you try to learn what they're experiencing? Why don't you try to gain some insight to it? Some acceptance of it. And, maybe one or both of them are bisexual. Maybe they're not. I mean, they're very young. But what they know is where they are now, right? And open yourself up to understand. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to say, "I would choose that for you. I'm so glad." I'm not saying that. But you need to at least be open enough to learn about it and educate yourself about it. Because if, in fact, that is true, it isn't a choice. It's a reality. So I'm wanting you to say, look, it's not about us picking on you. It's about saying, I want to empower you to be the mother that you can be and that these three deserve. And I want to empower the three of you to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I'm contributing to this family.
That's what we do. Me and us are proud of who we are, and we try to be the best that we can be. But they stifle it. They try to dye our hair blonde, give us a new wardrobe. And it's awful.
We have never done that.
You have tried to. You have talked about it. You talk about sending us away repeatedly.
Okay, but I'm telling you, you hear me saying I'm going to work on that. But what I'm telling you here is that you have to be willing to make responsible choices yourself. And being combative and yelling and screaming and with each other or with your mother, all this, there's a better way to respond than that, right? You know it's not working. This isn't a peaceful family, right? And you have to own your part of that. You do own your part of that, right? You realize you're not perfect in this.
I realize that, yes.
You realize that?
I do. I know I'm not perfect, and I wish my mom would accept me for that.
Okay, well, and your sexuality is not an imperfection, by the way. I don't want to put that in the same sentence. I don't see that way. Maybe you do. But you've got to be willing to say, look, if we're going to have a plan here and lean forward, I said I didn't have any hope, but I will participate in this and put one foot in front of the other. Because this show, as with all of our guests, this isn't the end, this is the beginning. We're going to start a process here that can involve a lot of things that we'll have to design and develop. One of those is getting you straight with this alcohol issue, because that doesn't help anything. I'm going to talk to you about that after the show. But you got to be willing to say, look, if you put something in front of us, a hill to climb, we'll climb it. We just don't want to be the only ones doing the climbing. You need to work on these guys too. And I'm saying I get that, but I need y'all to participate as well. Fair enough? Okay. All right, as I say, we're out of time, but this is just a beginning. You'll see these folks again. We'll be right back. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming here today, and Jody as well. It's never easy to confront all of this stuff and deal with it. Somehow or another, it's easier to just kind of suffer it and let days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months and months turn into years. But the problem is you're creating a history that predicts your future. And if you want a new future, you got to make different choices. And you can't, it's clear to me you can't do that on your own, because you guys are so entrenched in this behavior right now that if you just went back home and said, well, you know, boy, Dr. Phil really put a sharp point on this and we really see it, the chance that you're going to really make a change without restructuring and reprogramming and getting additional help and support is almost zero. But as I said, I've never been under the misapprehension that we do like 1-hour cures up here. This is a beginning. I've told you what I think and what I see. And we have wonderful resources available here. And we help all of our guests after the show with that. And I've already, in my mind, got a to-do list of things that need to happen. And I've already had Anthony Haskins, our resource director, working on this before we even started the show. And I'm going to double his list up now. And I think a lot of this begins with you and this alcohol issue. I'm uncomfortable with it. I think you need to deal with that. And I think these guys have a lot to do as well, getting some clarity in their thinking, learning how to deal with their anger and their frustration, a lot of those things. So we're going to put that on our to-do list, and we're going to be meeting about that right after the show. You can log on to drphil.com for a lot more on the right way to raise your teens. And don't be surprised when you say right ways to raise teens, you look down and it starts talking about 3- and 4-year-olds, because that's when you start raising teens. And trust me, parents, you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. They're just in transit. Remember to look for us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Thanks for being here. So long.
Today on Dr. Phil, is it possible for a woman to violate a man?
Were you negligent?
He did tell me to stop.
He claims his former girlfriend,
I kept trying to fight her off. I couldn't get away.
sexually assaulted him.
He said you used one arm to pin him down, the other one to unzip his pants.
I didn't force myself on him.
Chris is on the phone, so you're okay with her becoming a registered sex offender and going to the penitentiary?
For all the things that I went through, yes.
Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, free. Take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. Go, Dr. Phil. I'm going to tell you, you may have heard about my guests today, but they say they wish you hadn't heard of them. In our first story, it's not every day you hear about a man being raped by a woman. But Chris claims his ex-girlfriend Jessica raped him and got pregnant in the process. Take a look.
A young father claims he was raped by an old girlfriend, and he doesn't think he should have to pay child support.
She climbed into my lap, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, you know you want me."
I said, no, I don't.
Chris claims he was raped by his old girlfriend, Jessica Fuller.
A guy not wanting to have sex with somebody, that seems impossible.
Chris says one night, in the backseat of a friend's car, it happened.
I kept trying to fight her off, slam the hand over the lock. I tried to get out, I couldn't get away.
She got pregnant and had their son Joshua. Chris was never a part of his son's life. Now the state of Michigan wants Chris to start paying child support.
I'm the victim of a crime. Why should I have to pay the perpetrator?
Well, Jessica says the sex was consensual, and Chris never mentioned rape until he was faced with having to pay child support.
When Chris and I first started dating, we were both 14. When it came to contraception, we didn't use anything. We were together for about 3 years before I had gotten pregnant. He claimed that I got pregnant because I raped him. Chris never had to fight me off. He never had to tell me stop in any way. Neither one of us ever said no. It was in a hospital when I told Chris that I was pregnant, and he said, I can't believe this, and he stormed out of the room and he screamed at his mother in the hallway and said, she's pregnant again, and he left me there. I never asked Chris for child support. I told him that I had to fill out papers for it, and he denied that it was even his son. I learned that Chris claimed that I raped him through a reporter. I was stunned. I would never think that somebody would ever use something as serious as being raped to try to use it for their own personal gain, just so they don't have to send a check every month.
Okay, Jessica is here with me. Chris is on the phone listening, and I'm going to be talking with him in a bit. But we heard his tape piece first, yours second, so I'm going to talk to you first and then him second, because I want to keep everything balanced here. Do you say you did not rape him because you just think the concept of a woman raping a guy is just not credible, that just doesn't happen?
No, absolutely not. I know it can happen. You know, anything is, definitely possible. Anybody can be raped. I say it didn't happen because I did not force myself. It was 100%, we both agreed to it 100%. Whether a child came out of it or not, shouldn't have any bearing on what he has with his son, what kind of relationship he has with Joshua.
Okay, but you have said some things to us and to other media along the way that I've put together that, with my understanding of the definition of rape and consensual, sound very close to you fitting the definition. And I'm not saying that was your mindset, I'm not saying that was your intent,
right,
but I'm trying to find out what was really going on here. Now, you guys have dated on and off for like 3 years, right?
Yes.
And I think Chris said that you guys have broken up like 25 times.
Yeah.
So this has been on again, off again.
Yes.
And so you were actually breaking up this night?
Yes, I broke up with him early that morning.
But yet you're having sex with him
We did.
in the back of the car that night.
We did have sex that
And
night.
you said that you initiated the sex.
No, it wasn't to be honest, I really don't remember who initiated what. I just remember us making out on it's kind of like a balcony thing. You can go, up the stairs to look over the water, and that's where it started.
Uh-huh. But that's not where it ended.
No, it's not where it ended.
Where did it end?
It ended in my friend's car.
In the back seat of the car?
Yes.
Okay. And the first time you had sex, it was in the back seat of the car?
Yes, in the back seat of his car.
Yeah. You ever heard that old saying, get a room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you haven't been charged with any crime here, so you're not facing any criminal responsibility here. But you had gotten pregnant earlier that year.
Yes, I did.
And you had a miscarriage.
Yes.
Sorry for your loss on that. I'm sorry that happened to you. And this was a couple of months later, right?
It was a month later when I had conceived again.
Okay. And your doctor had said that post-miscarriage that you would be extremely fertile.
Right.
Right? That there's high risk here. Okay. And you had sex with him. You're in charge of your body. He's in charge of his. That's
Correct.
my view. Okay. Now, you're in charge of your body. Did you want to get pregnant?
No, I did not
Did
want
you
to get
want to have a
pregnant.
baby with the boy you broke up with that morning?
No.
then why are you having sex with him in the back seat of a car that night with no birth control whatsoever?
To be honest, I don't know. I
Well,
wasn't
I don't know is
thinking.
an answer. You had no birth. You were taking no birth control.
No, I was not.
He had no condom.
No.
You didn't even make an effort to control it. So this is what I'm trying to get to. You get in the back seat with this guy, and you get on top of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said you crawled on top of him.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And you knew, you had a medical professional tell you are extremely fertile, you have no birth control whatsoever, and you consciously, willfully, purposefully have sex with this guy.
Yes.
Did you fail to take proper care against getting pregnant?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you were definitely negligent.
Yes.
Okay, and so when you got on top of him, was he aware that you were
Yes.
highly fertile?
Yes, he was.
And
he was there in the hospital.
Did he ever at any point say, stop?
He did tell me to stop. He did. He said, whoa, hold on a second.
Okay, so he did say, stop, hold on, wait a minute.
Yes.
And then you wound up finishing anyway.
Yep, yep.
Because he said that, wait a minute, hold on, I want out of here. No, this is not a good idea. Don't want to do this. Don't want to be a dad. Don't want to get pregnant. Not ready for that. He reached for the door and he says, you reach over and slam the lock down.
No.
Put your hand on the lock and said, and so the door didn't work.
No.
That didn't happen.
No. Okay. No, he was very much stronger than I was.
Mm-hmm. Well, but you were on top of him.
Yes, but there was enough room in the vehicle for him to push me off. There was enough room for him to get away, if that were the case.
He said you used one arm to pin him down, the other one to unzip his pants while you were sitting on top
Wow.
of him.
I sound pretty crafty. No, that never happened.
I'm just asking.
Never.
I'm just asking because it seems to me like you were being pretty reckless that night.
I was, yes.
We've agreed that you were reckless, that you were negligent.
Yes.
And the question is, did you coerce?
No,
which would equate to rape.
I definitely, made some bad choices that night. Everybody's done it, but that night was not. I didn't physically force myself on him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that dominating. I'm not. I did not do that. If he would have said no, get off, I want out, I would have gotten off and he would have gotten out.
Now, you said he never brought this up until you filed for child support.
Yes.
But he says that he, in fact, contacted the sheriff's office a few weeks afterwards.
Why wasn't I arrested? Why wasn't I ever spoken to? I never had anything until a few months ago when I heard about it in an article when a reporter called me.
Quick poll in the audience. If you think it's possible for a woman to rape a man, raise your hand. That's almost everybody. If you think, no, don't get it, not possible, raise your hand. That's a few think, no, not possible. So most people think that it is, at least conceptually, a possibility. All right, we have to take a break, and I want to hear what Chris has to say about this. We'll be right back.
After I told Chris that the state was requiring me to go after him for child support, he called me names like, you nasty bitch, you whore, he's not mine, you slut, you slept around. I'll just tell everybody that it was statutory rape. I won't have to pay a thing.
I'm the victim of a crime. Why should I have to pay the perpetrator?
I never thought that he would have went that low.
Well, that was Jessica talking about her ex-boyfriend Chris's reaction when she told him that he had to pay child support. Now, Jessica's here today because she wants people to know that she is not a rapist. And so your point is, if somebody gets on the internet and searches you up, bang, your name comes up associated with having raped someone.
Correct.
And so you're saying, I hate that. I don't want that to be the case. Now, Chris is on the phone, and he does not want to interact with you at this point.
It's fine.
So he's been listening to you, and you can listen to him. But if you will, you step to the side here conversationally and let me talk to Chris, and if he wants to say something to you, that's up to him. He can, but I told Chris it would just be he and I talking. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Have you been listening so far?
Yes, I have.
And what do you agree or disagree with that has been said?
Well, I disagree with the fact that she wanted to get pregnant because that was very obvious to everybody. It seemed to be, except for me, I mean, I had people telling me all the time that that's all that she wanted, and I kind of looked over it. I mean, she was the first girlfriend I'd ever had, and I put a lot of trust into her, even though, you know, there was a lot of heartache on my part. I mean, she broke up with me constantly to be with other guys. So, you know, also, not that it's a major thing, but I was 15 and she was 16. She was almost 16 when we met. There was never a conversation about finishing during what happened to me either. There was never anything like that. I said I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do that. And the only coercion there was her saying, you know, you want to continue. You want to keep going, and I didn't. You know, I didn't want to be a dad. I did want to get out of the car, and there was not enough room to push her off because her back was against the passenger seat that was leaned back. I couldn't get out.
Okay, now at this point, so you're saying that Jessica is the first girl that you had sex with?
Yes.
At 15 years of age?
Yes.
And the two of you had gotten pregnant before. Was that your child?
See, that's the thing. I don't know, because she also had a sexual relationship with other guys as well in between her relationship with me.
Now, is it your understanding that she had sex with you that night in the car, and if it was rape, that's not sex, that's rape? Those are two very different things.
Absolutely.
But for the purposes of this conversation, she had this interaction with you that night in the car, and then she went somewhere after you.
Yes.
And had sexual relations with someone else.
Just hours later.
Okay. Do you know that this baby in question is yours?
There was a paternity test done.
Okay,
yes.
so it definitely is yours. Okay, so I wanted to clear that up. Now, when you guys got out of the car, and you did get out of the car after this, correct?
Yes.
Were you asking her to come home with you?
No, not at all. We got back into the car. Our friends came back from the beach because that's where they were. They were down on the beach when this occurred. And in the time in waiting, I got out of the car. I sat on the back of the car with my head in my hands. I didn't speak to anyone. They came back. We got back in the car. They took me home and dropped me off.
Did you feel violated, or were you afraid that you had just gotten her pregnant because you knew she was high risk at that point?
No, I did feel violated because throughout our relationship, we had a consensual relationship prior to this. And, you know, it seems like as soon as she got the miscarriage is when she got even more aggressive. I mean, she was always aggressive to begin with in our relationship, but it seems like this is where she took it to a whole nother level.
Did you guys ever live together after this incident?
Yes, because she didn't have anywhere else to go at the time, and my mother took her, and I hadn't told anybody at this point what had happened. I just wanted to block it out.
Well, isn't it kind of odd that you would move your rapist into your home?
Well, they see that wasn't my decision necessarily. That was more my mother's, because she was living with us before this happened, because her family had left her at the hospital when she had that miscarriage. So she moved in with us after the fact, and she moved out just about a day before this happened, and she had nowhere else to go after that, and my mother took her back. And like I said, you know, after it happened, I didn't really know how to respond. I wanted to block it out. I wanted to pretend like it never happened.
Did you ever have sexual relations after the night in question?
No.
With her? You never had sex again?
No.
Jessica says that you were together for 3 months after this happened.
Yeah, there was 2 months.
2 months.
She was living here with, you know, because she had nowhere else to go.
So did you get along?
There were times where things were okay, but for the most part, no.
Okay. Is rape too strong a word here? Was this something that you have some ownership in, no ownership in? Is rape too strong a word to use here?
No, I don't think it is, because I did, in fact, tell her no. I tried to get away from her, and I couldn't get away. I mean, I had no choice but to give up after fighting it for at least 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't get away.
Well, I have to ask the question that's on everybody's mind, because we're looking at a picture of you right now. You look to be a very nice-looking, clean-cut young man. You look to be very healthy and strong. I think it would beg the question, were you not able to overpower her, defend her, turn away from her, rotate your body to one side, do something to avoid this having happened?
What you see now is a product of a lot of hard work to get myself back into shape, because when this happened, I really was not a very big guy. I was about 150 pounds, if that. I wasn't very strong. I never lifted a weight in my life until just only less than 2 or 3 years ago. I was not a strong guy, and after the fact of everything that happened, I blew up in weight. I gained about 70 pounds just from sheer depression, and you know, I basically fed my feelings. I blew up, and it's not until about 2009 that I finally started to lose weight and get control of my health and my own weight again. And I feel now that I have to go to the gym to maintain some kind of strength. I don't know if it's something that's subconscious because of what happened, but, you know, that's just how I am now.
Do your parents believe that you were raped?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, she admitted in our living room in front of my parents that she had said, you know, that I had said no during this whole thing and that I tried to get away.
We'll be right back. Now, you understand that rape is a felony, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And that if she is convicted of rape, I mean, if someone said, okay, you know, we're going to start drilling down on this, figure out that she raped this young man, that's a felony. She could wind up being a registered sex offender and do any number of years in the state penitentiary for a felony.
Yes. Is
that your hope and intent here?
Honestly, for what happened to me, yes.
Okay. So you're okay with her becoming a registered sex offender and going to the penitentiary?
For all the things that I went through and the psychological damage that I went through, yes. Mm-hmm. I know that there's other guys that she's been in relationships with that she was very aggressive in, that I've spoken to. So I know that I'm not the only one who's gone through at least the aggressive part of her. I just think I caught the extreme.
Okay, and what is your son's name?
Joshua.
And how is your relationship with him?
I think I met him one time when he was an infant, but I've never had any interaction with him.
But you understand he is your biological child, even though you believe he was a product of rape?
Yes, and that's why it's been such a difficult thing to cope with. You know, a lot of people say to me, how can you not be a part of this child's life? But the thing is that, yes, he's an innocent child, but I'm also innocent as well.
Okay, but we can agree he's done absolutely nothing wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and if his mother goes to the penitentiary and becomes a registered sex offender, then what will happen to the child?
See, that's where I'm not sure, because I know that with everything that happened, I'm not a unbiased person with him. You know, I don't think that it would be fair for him to grow up with a father who went through what he did, and you know, that now he is a product of this rape.
This happened in, was this in January of 2006?
This happened, the exact date is, I don't really remember the exact date. It was towards the very end of 2005 or the very beginning of 2006.
Okay, and you did not level these rape allegations until 2009?
Well, officially, yeah, in the courtrooms, yes, that's when it got out that way. But no, I had been talking to people, and everybody knew what happened, you know, only a few short months after it did happen.
Uh-huh. And, of course, her position, and I'll let you respond to this, her position is that your allegation of rape coincided with her move to get child support from you, and that the one defense against liability for child support is that this was non-consensual, and so you didn't willingly participate in the making of this child.
Yeah, that is an absolutely false statement.
Well, no, that's not false as to the law.
No, not to the law, no.
You're saying it's false that that's why you brought it forward.
Exactly. I mean, I look at it this way, I'm married to a woman who has 2 children that are not mine, that I'm taking care of, that they don't even get child support. If it was trying to get away from a child, why would I get myself involved in a relationship with 2 children that aren't mine?
Uh-huh. And I understand that you've had a legal setback in that the court has denied your motion to dismiss her claim for child support.
Yes.
So a court has deemed that the test of the law was not met and that you owe the child support.
Yes, and that is what I'm currently paying right now.
Okay. If she dropped her claim for child support, would you drop your allegation of rape?
I don't think that I could do that.
Okay, I'm not suggesting, I'm just asking.
No.
Do you feel that I've given you a fair opportunity to state your side of the case?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to take a break and let you continue listening, and if I have a question, I may come back to you.
Okay.
After the break, I'm going to let Jessica respond, and we're going to hear what a witness has to say. Well, some days on the Dr. Phil Show we talk about really unusual things, and it is unusual for a male to claim that he has been raped by a female. Now, I will tell you that if you search the medical and psychological and sociological literature, you will find a number of experts that will tell you that this is possible. And you might say, well, how? Because the man has to be aroused. But the truth is that a man can be aroused involuntarily in some respects, in part due to sexual stimuli, in part due to adrenaline, excitement, any number of things. So I think the consensus among experts, at least physiologically, is that this is certainly a possibility. Is it what happened in this case? That's what we're trying to figure out. Jessica has a witness who was there the night Chris says that he was raped. Now, Kim is joining us on the phone. Kim, what happened that night?
Well, I'm not sure what happened previous in the day. I do know Chris and Jessica were no longer dating. My boyfriend at the time and I had picked up Jessica and Chris, and we all went to the beach. They had already started making out in the back seat and kind of getting a little into it. So as soon as we parked, my boyfriend and I had gotten out of the vehicle and walked towards the beach. We ended up just sitting on a bench. Well, we had seen them in the back of the car, and we saw their silhouettes, moving in motions and everything. Once they had finished, they had gotten out, so we had walked back to the car. Everything seemed fine. We all got back into the vehicle. We conversed a little, then we kind of split off into our own personal conversations. Once we had dropped Chris off, he got upset. I believe Jessica had said they were talking about her staying the night with him, so he was upset because she didn't want to stay. Well, my boyfriend had dropped us off to my vehicle. Jessica and I drove to her house, which she rented with the boy that we went to school with. They had ended up starting to make out and get into it, so therefore they went off into the room, and they had sex also that night. And I believe it wasn't until a few weeks after that nothing became an issue until after Chris had found out about that night.
So you think when he found out that she had sex with someone else, he got offended then?
Yes.
Uh-huh. But that's just conjecture on your part.
Yes.
Did he seem upset when you returned to the car?
Not until the end of the car ride when she had told him no, she didn't want to stay the night at his house.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's when he got upset. He wasn't upset when you got back, because he said he was sitting on the back of the car holding his head in his hands, and he was upset.
He was sitting on the back of the car, but he didn't seem any out of ordinary than just after being exhausted from what he had just done.
So you just don't think it happened in this circumstance?
I do believe that it didn't happen only because I know a few times we had talked Chris into skipping school, and they've had sex in the back of my car at the beach.
Chris, is there anything you'd like to say in response to Kim's comments?
Well, I mean, for one, the whole the whole thing where they were talking, where she was just mentioning about at the end of the conversation, or at the end of the car ride where I got into an argument with her, I never said anything the entire car ride because of how upset that I was. You know, I had nothing to say to anybody. I was too upset by what happened. And everything that she is talking about that she says that she thinks happened, well, from the outside it might have looked that way. But I was truly upset because of what had just happened.
Mm-hmm. And did you want her to stay with you that night?
No, absolutely not.
Leading up to the instance in the car, is it true that the two of you and Jessica, were in fact making out, kissing, hugging, all that sort of thing?
No.
Well, Jessica says you guys were making out ahead of time before you got there to the beach, and Kim says you were making out before you got to the beach. So I just need to be clear, are both of them lying in your view?
Yes.
So Jessica, what's going on here?
It is true, though. I did have sex with another man that night. Not proud of it, but I did. And the reason Chris left me was because of that specific reason. He was living with me at my house at the time. He had found out. I did deny it as much as I could because, you know, I was not proud of that night having sex with two men. Definitely was not proud of that. Chris was my first and only, especially when I got pregnant the first time. That night was the very first time I ever had sex with anyone else other than Chris.
Are you angry that you're being accused of this?
I'm very angry. I mean, rape is a very serious thing. You know, women and men go through it, you know, unfortunately, you know, every day it happens. But to be associated with something so disgusting, it's very, very sickening when nobody wants to believe you, when everybody takes one side and they don't care what the other side is. And when my children find that when they get older, you know, it's sickening to think what could happen because of, you know, him opening his mouth just for whatever reason, you know.
So what are you guilty of here?
I'm probably guilty of not being very responsible. Definitely guilty of letting my emotions and feelings of him and I get the best of me. Definitely guilty of being reckless. Thank you. But the one thing I'm definitely not guilty of is raping him.
Do you believe that he believes what he's saying?
I do.
So you believe that he believes he was raped?
Yeah.
So you don't think he's just making this up? You think he really is hurt by this?
I do.
And he really believes he was raped?
I do. I think he really does feel that he probably got taken advantage of that night. I really do.
Okay. And you agree that you may have initiated, you may have been the aggressor, but you don't think it went anywhere near
No,
what someone
not.
would think of as rape?
No.
And you agree that you were reckless?
Yes.
That you were negligent?
Mm-hmm.
That you were irresponsible?
Yes.
Not once, but twice that night?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of bad decisions made all the way around.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about this as the show unfolds, and you're going to hear some things about what you can do to help clean up this image that you think can stick with you for a long time in job interviews or whatever, if somebody does a search on you and then here this pops up.
Okay.
But you have no criminal charges pending at this point?
None.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on. If you found out your partner was cheating, what would you do? Well, my next guest did something that made international news. An exclusive interview with her next.
Your jilted mistress is getting revenge in a very big way. She's launched a very public campaign against the president of one of the world's largest tech firms.
His ex-girlfriend has plastered cities around the country with huge billboards showing them together in happier times.
You might remember my next guest, Yvonne. Her story made international news. Take a look.
From New York to San Francisco, one mistress turns a private breakup into public payback.
Yvonne Wilkins is the mistress. Charles Phillips, the head of Oracle Corporation, and married. Wilkins apparently had these billboards put up after Phillips reconciled with his wife.
After 8.5 years, I found out that Charles was still married. Because Charles was president of Oracle, it was extremely easy for him to mask his relationship with his wife. He would say to me, I have to go to Europe for 5 days. I have to go to Asia for 4 days. His excuses rolled off his tongue. Because of the red flags, I did hire a private investigator. What I found out was that Charles was still living with his wife. I just felt sick to my stomach. Because I wanted everyone to know that I had a significant relationship with Charles, I put the billboards up to tell everyone that I was this man's partner. I didn't put the billboards up to tell everyone I was a mistress. I loved him, and I thought he loved me.
Now, Yvonne says as soon as the billboards went up, her world came crashing down.
When the billboards went up and the media started attacking me, calling me a whore, they were calling me a homewrecker, it backfired. And I felt ashamed. I felt that I couldn't go outside, I couldn't leave my house. It was so hard just to walk my dogs every day. It's been 2 years since the billboards went up, and I am absolutely concerned that if I meet someone, whether it's a business associate or my next boyfriend, I'm afraid that the first thing they will do is Google me, because it's what people do these days. They Google everyone. And all that was up there was Yvonne, billboard mistress. Yvonne, Charles Phillips's scorned mistress. Yvonne, psycho. And I'm none of those things. I'm very smart, I'm very funny, and there's nothing that says that online.
Well, Yvonne hasn't spoken to any media in 2 years since everything happened. How is it going for you now?
So for the past 2.5 years, I've moved on. I've started multiple businesses and executive produced a documentary that kind of explains the billboard, what led to the billboard fiasco. And I've written a memoir.
So why talk about it now?
I'm ready to tell my story. I wasn't ready when it initially occurred in January of 2010 because I knew that there was no way I can tell this layered, complicated story in a 30-second interview with the various media outlets that were camping outside of my home and my parents' home.
So why did you put these billboards up?
This was my way to say I was significant. I was not a mistress.
Because you didn't think you were the other woman, and you came to California. You all bought a house together out here?
Yes.
For like $11 million?
Yes.
Tell me about the moment when you decided, I'm going to buy billboards in multiple cities and put this up there in like 20 by 60 foot sign.
I was driving down the highway and I noticed a billboard that his company had put up for their big annual conference in San Francisco. So I just thought, if Oracle can put up a billboard, I'm going to put up a billboard. And then I just let it go and moved on until the Tiger Woods issue happened. And I've been having unprotected sex with this man for 8.5 years, and I realized at that moment that, oh my God, I'm a mistress. I was a mistress. I wasn't his girlfriend. I was a mistress. And it made me feel sick. I'm a very strong woman. I'm a very intuitive woman. And when things don't feel right or smell right, I question it.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, Yvonne says she believed she was the only woman in her partner's life for over 8 years. We'll be right back.
When the Tiger Woods scandal happened, that's when it hit me that I was mistress. And never in 8.5 years did I ever feel led or made to feel like I was a mistress. I was led to believe that I was his partner, that I was his soulmate.
Well, that was Yvonne talking about her shock in realizing that her partner of 8 years had been cheating on her and, in fact, was still married. Now, this is the first time Yvonne speaking out about her story. Would you put these billboards up again today?
immediately within hours of the billboards going up in New York City, I felt extremely regretful, mostly because of what it was doing to Charles professionally. I never in a million years thought that anyone would notice the billboards because it's a picture of Charles and a picture of me. I mean, I drive on the highway every day. I'm sure I pass at least 50 billboards. I can't tell you what billboards are up on Highway 101 or the 10.
Okay, you got a guy that's the head of a 70,000 employee company.
Right.
And somebody puts a billboard with a scandalous backstory up in anywhere on the globe, and you didn't think the media was going to think there's a story here.
Well, honestly, he and I were public, so I kind of felt that, I guess because I didn't factor in the 70,000 employees, I figured that they knew that I was his girlfriend, so they would just say, oh, Charles and Yvonne, and then they would go to the website, and the website I actually created for his 50th birthday that year, and all it was a website. It's an electronic photo album, so there were photos from each year we were dating. There was nothing salacious about the website. It was extremely benign, and when I first came up with the idea to do the billboards, all of my friends were against it. They just said, why, that's crazy, don't do it. And I said, yeah, you're right. And once the Tiger Woods thing happened, I called Clear Channel and said, what does somebody have to do to put up a billboard? So, I mean, I didn't give it enough thought. So when you ask, would I do it again? No.
But you're kind of transcending all that, because instead of trying to get smaller in the World Wide Web and everybody's consciousness, you're seeking to get larger with your memoir, your documentary. You just want to get larger with the full story.
I'm not trying to get larger. If no one reads the book, no one watches the documentary, it's okay. What I want is for my nieces and my nephews and the rest of my relatives to continue to look up to me and to continue to admire me, and not have in the back of your mind, or back of their minds, how did Yvonne not know that this was going on? We know Yvonne. She's smarter than that.
All right. All right, we got to take a break. Next, we're going to talk about what you can do if you don't like what people are saying about you on the internet. Is there any hope? Can you clean this stuff up? We're going to meet a man who says, yeah, actually you can. Be right back. Well, today I've been talking to women who say their reputations have been ruined by news headlines and the internet. Now, Michael Furtick is here, and he founded Reputation.com and says people have the right to control and protect their online reputation and privacy. But, Michael, it takes some effort, it takes some doing, right?
The thing to do is to take control of the definition of what the internet thinks is true about you. How do you do that? First, it's very easy to buy a website for yourself, and you might be, in your case, drphil.com, or someone else's case, firstnamelastname.com, and publish a very simple bio of yourself that defines who you are in your eyes. And number two, do the same thing. Twitter.com/firstname, not last name. Not Twitter.com/funnygirlporsche, but first name, last name. Why? Because that shows up high in Google. The last thing I want to be very, very specific about is that social media privacy settings don't work, and I want to make sure that people understand that whatever they publish or is published about them can and will leak out there on the world.
Okay, thank you so much for talking about that. And those 3 points you had, we're going to put on the internet as well. But that's a good idea, to get a perfect match tag on a website that comes up, so people at least get your side of whatever is going on out there. I hope you join our Facebook page and share your opinions. Also, continue to let me know what you think on the message boards. We do look at that, and a lot of our guests come from the message board, because we do follow-up, and we get on there and see that you felt strongly about it one way or the other, or you thought I was a complete moron, or whatever. Then we bring you here so you can tell me that to my face. Thanks for being here. So long.
Rồi.
Head there.
Help me.
Giúp tôi.
Thanks.
Số phận ăn bài rồi em ơi. Ý trời đã định thì mày không thay đổi được đâu. Mày thì lái đi. Cho mày tiền rồi lại có câu giống của Hương lần trước rồi. Anh cần tiền không? Quân nó bảo thứ hai là mới dành đi cho tiền mà dành không được. Ok. Nhìn mỗi cái câu anh cần tiền nó không là mình đoán được phần sau.
5.000 một ngày.
Cần tiền lắm không?
Đấy tôi đấy, anh cần tiền lắm không này? Mặc dù là mình cũng cần ok. Đó thì chắc ý là thứ hai mình trả, thứ hai là mùng mấy nhỉ? Thứ hai là qua Tết rồi đúng không? À Tết rồi, à nhầm nhầm, lấy quên rồi. Có nhiều bài mình chỉ biết lời chứ méo nhớ nhớ tên. À xong rẻ à? Rồi anh sẽ xin được mày trước. Đâu? Play.
Bài anh ngọt nhỉ?
Kìa nè. Lấy xe tao chửi. Gì.
Right there.
Thanks.
Roger.
Help me!
Dạ. Không anh. Đam nó cũng chỉ tầm đấy à. Thế nào chỉ được số lượng đam đấy. Ok nha. Chơi game là chỉ có một xích cộng đồng. Chỉ có thể là tôi. Từ cánh tim của bạn. đi, cái trên nốt đi, tao làm chạy nó rồi xinh hết. Bây giờ thì nó bom bé vào nó chạy đâu. Nên là phải chấp nhận làm cái săn đuổi.
Enemy spotted.
Help me.
Đằng này nè thằng ngu.
Help me. Help me.
Chết mày. Nó hồi sinh cho tụi kia, nó không hồi sinh cho mình.
Double kill.
Bây giờ phải lấy cái tiền nhỏ lì xì nữa hả? Em chỉ lì xì vài đứa cháu mới đẻ thôi. Anh em là nhưng có nhiều lì xì. Mua lì xì nữa. Xem nào. Mẹ này. Ô tô 1 luôn mà. Để mình nhớ lại vài thứ nha mọi người. Bạn sẽ giữa làm gì nào. Ok. Nhỉ, lần trước mình quên mất mình không lấy gì mình kèo. Đó. Đây là cái 1 mà. Đó, anh này ấn vào 2 là nó đang từ 1 lên 2 rồi. Từ đấy là tính từ đúng không? Tổng là 4.500 là tất. Vâng. Tức là cái kia của anh là anh mắc rồi. Có viên nào đâu. Đây, 3 hộp tối đa đấy. 10 viên mà. Đâu, chưa viên nào đâu, không. À. Đây là mảnh ngọc mà. Đây là anh nâng từ 1 rồi. Từ 2. Không có 2. Anh cho sách của Pro à? Tăng lên 3 là 4.500 thì đúng rồi. Ngọc, à tức là vàng, anh dùng vàng mới mất có 2.000. Anh mua một cái 3. Vâng. Tức là anh dùng hết mảnh ngọc đi thì nó sẽ dùng vàng. 2.000. Giá trung bình là khoảng 2.000 mà. Còn mảnh ngọc thì đương nhiên nó phải đắt hơn rồi, mảnh ngọc nó chẳng liên quan đến vàng. Vàng là cái mua tướng. Còn mảnh ngọc thì ngọc nó khác. Cái đồng thôi. Cái mảnh ngọc nó chẳng có ai có dùng được vào việc gì ở mảnh ngọc đâu mọi người. Ok nha mọi người. Xả lám. Từ nhá mọi người, mình từ từ mình đi ra đây tí nhé. Ok, vô. Ly chỉ 20k là đủ. 50k hợp lý lắm. Ok. Xem nào, nhà mình có bao nhiêu cháu ta? Okay. Bên nhà mình 2 này, nhà Cường 2 này, nhà Thảo 2 này, Thằng nhà kia 3 này, Sơn hơn chục đứa cháu này điên rồi. Em tính ra có hơn 1 năm nữa, còn cái bọn chưa đến 1 tuổi ấy. Mỗi nhà toàn 2 đứa trở lên. Đẹp không? Hai chục, mỗi người 2 chục.